Just a couple of guys, a couple of microphones, and a heck of a lot of know. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
What they say, it's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmies and the Joes.
All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Football on the Know. I am Jim McPhee, and right there is Mr. Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, Noodles? Welcome back for another edition of Football on the Know show, and we are here for you guys to go through everything that is the NFL, whether it be rumors, trades, what have you, and talk about some trades. A big one happened today. None other than the man, the myth, the legend that is DeAndre Hopkins. It has finally got to leave the Tennessee Titans to go to a championship caliber team in the Kansas City Chiefs, and something that we've kind of had foreseen for quite some time. We've heard the rumors about the Chiefs possibly looking to make a move to acquire another wide receiver, especially with the injuries that have piled up for that franchise. And what do you know? DeAndre Hopkins lands in Kansas City. I know he's elated because now he's on that championship train, and they're trying to go for their third straight championship. So let's see if they can do that this year.
Yeah, Joe. I mean, and it made sense. We talked about this last night on the Blindside Blitz. There were rumors that the Chiefs were favored to go after the Cooper Kupp situation with the Los Angeles Rams. But they're asking way too much for Cooper Kupp right now. I think the Rams and we had both talked about a nice option that people haven't really talked about. And now is DeAndre Hopkins just sitting there on a team that is dead in the water. They're not going anywhere. He selected the team a few years back here, and we were questioning that decision back then, especially when they had Derrick Henry as the focal point of the offense. It didn't really make a whole lot of sense. So he's kind of been in wide receiver purgatory for a little bit, and it made perfect sense for the Chiefs now and the Titans to kind of unload here and try to make some moves, because Chiefs need to make a move here to solidify that offense, because Patrick Mahomes, let's be honest, isn't playing very well at all. He has more interceptions than he has touchdowns at this point, not looking like the first ballot Hall of Famer that a lot of people try to say about this guy. And still, yet, despite all that, still undefeated, the only undefeated team in the league right now. But I think that's heavily because of the way the defense has been playing.
It's the defense has come on late. The defense wasn't playing well early on in the season. The last couple of weeks, they've definitely excelled their game, have elevated their game, and it always helps when you got the referees in your back pocket. So, I mean, that helps too. But as far as Patrick Mahomes struggling and everything, he continues to struggle. And no matter who he has on the football field, even guys that have been around there since he got drafted, like Travis Kelce, like that dude has been his go-to man for quite some time. And even now, it seems like they're struggling to connect. They're struggling to get something going there. And obviously, you see all the injuries. Hollywood Brown, he ends up getting injured. He's done for the year. Rashee Rice, not only is he injured, but we don't even know, his future in terms of the trial that's going on. With the multi-car accident that he was involved in. And so you have that lingering out there. So you don't have him at your disposal. Juju Smith-Schuster, they end up acquiring, and he started to kind of take off last week. Him and Mahomes started to really get on the same page. You noticed how that offense kind of started to get back to somewhat close to where it used to be. And then he goes down with an injury. So now it put the Chiefs in a bind where it forced their hand. A lot of people were alluding to that they were going to pull off a trade. And then I think the Juju injury kind of really put that in motion and excelled that process. So then you saw them able to acquire and get DeAndre Hopkins, which is a huge upgrade for them. Now, what kind of Hopkins are they getting? Because we all know that he isn't in his prime anymore. He is an aging wide receiver. But one thing's for sure is that the guy knows how to run routes. He's one of the best route runners in the game and has amazing hands. So that right there is going to give him a leg up on a lot of the defenses that he'll have to face. And also the fact that that addition for the Kansas City Chiefs is going to give them a nice little bump on their offense going forward. And let's see what they can do with this opportunity now, because they have Hopkins, but Juju is not done for the year. He's only going to miss a couple of weeks. So when he comes back, now they have something going. Now they have two wide receivers that Mahomes can depend on and throw the ball to. So that's what I'm kind of looking forward to for the Kansas City Chiefs. And good on them for making this move, because they only gave up a fifth, technically. They gave up a fifth rounder. It conditionally could turn into a fourth rounder. But man, I think this is a home run by the Kansas City Chiefs, and it actually works in favor of Tennessee too. They unload some salary. They move on from an aging player. And we all know that the Titans are already looking towards next offseason to see what they could add to that roster.
Right. And I think what was great too is even for the Kansas City Chiefs is about half of his remaining contract, $5 million, would be paid by the Titans too. So they are even not only have to give up a very low pick, and then also, they're going to take care of half the money here. So it works out great for the Chiefs, especially because like you were saying, their lack of weapons right now, but you put DeAndre Hopkins, yes, he is a bit older and stuff like that, but you've had guys over there that have been successful that haven't exactly been great on other teams. We've seen McCole Hardman move on. We've seen Juju move on to other teams. And these guys have all come back, and now they're come back and they're performing again. I mean, only with the Chiefs. It seems like, these
honestly,
guys they've been there before, but the Chiefs, I think, with DeAndre Hopkins here, he's going to have success with Patrick Mahomes throwing them the ball there. So it's a great weapon for them in that offense.
Yeah, honestly though, the Mecole Hardman thing, he started with the Chiefs. He only went away for 1 year. So and he really wasn't even that great when he was with the Kansas City Chiefs. He had some big catches down the field, but he wasn't like Tyreek Hill. When they had Tyreek Hill there, completely difference maker. Hardman was just a nice chess piece that they had, a routine type of player, a guy that they could depend on one time or another, but nothing consistent. And then Juju was just a nice ad from the Steelers. When he got to be a free agent, they added him for 1 year, and he played pretty well with them down the stretch. But again, no big time playmaker. DeAndre Hopkins, however, is a playmaker. This is a guy that is head and tails well above those guys in terms of their accolades or the resume that they've already established. So Hopkins to me is like the biggest acquisition for them. I think this is going to play off really well for the Chiefs, especially now that they're going to get into the latter part of the season, and look for them to, when Juju does come back, it's going to be tough to decide who you got. You got to watch out for Juju. You got to watch out for Hopkins. You got to watch out for Isaiah Pacheco when he comes back. You know what I mean? It looks like it's going to be week 10 or after that. But this team is going to get healthier now that they've added Hopkins. Maybe this kind of puts them over the top.
Right. And I think having Worthy there still as a speed threat, I think is still big for them too. And having Hopkins there helps his worth for the team too as well, because he's tried to been that guy, but I don't think he exactly is right now. He's had some catching problems here and there, but definitely beating defenses here and getting open in the deep end here. So he could be the deep speed threat for them. And DeAndre Hopkins is you just throw the ball near his vicinity here, and he can bring it in with anything here. He has the greatest hands out there.
Yeah, the interesting thing is Xavier Worthy's usage. It's not a lot. It's not starter worthy. It's not like he's out there often. Andy Reid and company have been picking and choosing when they put him out there in certain situations, certain downs. They're not utilizing him like the first round pick he was used with. So usually when you draft a guy first round, you expect him to be out there the majority of the time, if not for almost near all the snaps. Xavier Worthy, a little bit different of a case here. So they're picking and choosing how to use him, but you're right, Jim. He's the one guy that they're going to depend on to take the top off the defense and just kind of get those big chunk plays with Worthy. The only other thing is, how much is Worthy going to stand up to the everyday rigors of the NFL? We've questioned that when he got drafted. and he took one hell of a hit last week against the Niners. And I wonder how he's feeling around this time during the week. You
Mhm.
know, is he really sore? You know, is he moving a little slower? So, and he's not a big guy at all. The guy is well below the average, weight for a wide receiver, and that's kind of where I'm worried about his longevity in this game. And that's possibly the reason why Andy Reid and them are kind of utilizing him in certain situations and not often. They're trying to kind of keep him safe, keep him, keep him protected. So we'll see if that kind of opens up a little bit more, especially in the second part of the season. Maybe they get him on the field a lot more often to kind of keep everybody honest. And now having Hopkins, they could play and be creative with going up against other defenses with those
Right.
two.
Right. All right. We've got Mike Tackett's in the house.
Oh, there he is. What's up,
There
Mike?
he is. He is here. He says, with Russell Wilson and now D-Hop, are we seeing a new trend with teams willing to pay a portion of the player's salary as a condition to their trade? I think it works for all parties if done correctly.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's part of the thing. I think it's new this offseason. Like this is where if you want a certain draft pick, you got to be willing to take some of the money or hold some of the money back from the team that's acquiring the talent. Uh, I don't think it's really going to be like something that happens often all the time. But if you want a draft pick, that's where you're starting to get to these negotiations where they're like, okay, fine, we'll give you a third, but you got to take half of this contract if you want
Yeah.
that third round pick. Otherwise, we'll give you a fifth. You know what I mean? So these negotiations happen all the time. I think this is kind of like it could be even part of like a coincidence this offseason where we're seeing multiple trades that happen that get finalized and that are shelling out to be what it is right now with trading and holding money or at least part of the money. So I think it's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think same kind of thing. You might see more of these. I don't know if it's exactly a trend moving forward. It could be, but teams, I think it's situational on what they're looking at. I know some GMs, especially now, are probably looking at things more of a, we know the guy, you're desperate to kind of unload him, stuff like that. We only want to give up this, so we're hard on this. Hey, maybe you just absorb a little bit of money and then, maybe we can make that work or something like that. And I think some teams now are willing to say, all right, we want to really make this move, this thing happen. This is all they're going to give us. So why not screw it? And we're not seeing like an astronomical amount being taken up here yet either. So
I
it's
mean,
within the realm of some things.
to be honest with you, I mean, this type of negotiation that's happening this offseason where some teams are keeping part of the money, like look at what just happened with Hopkins. For the Titans to take half his salary and say, okay,
Mhm.
we'll pay that half, and
Mhm.
then to me that's a bad move.
Yeah.
That's bad on the Titans to even make that move like that when all they're giving up is basically a fifth rounder.
Yeah.
Could turn into a fourth rounder, but basically a fifth rounder right now. Uh, I don't know, man. You didn't get a high pick. It's not like you got a third round pick, and so that's why you were willing to do that and pay half a salary. So sometimes it's very questionable on certain organizations what they decide to do and how they go about it. And I feel like in this trade, it does help in a way. It helps the Tennessee Titans, like we said before, but at the same time, I feel like the Chiefs kind of stole Hopkins away from them.
Yeah, and it stinks too because when we were talking about this too and the potential for DeAndre Hopkins to go, we had brought up the Chiefs and things like that, but I really didn't want the Chiefs to be the team to get him. I was looking forward to maybe 49ers, Buccaneers with the situation that they're in.
Right. Yep.
So here we go. Only the Chiefs now. So let's see if how this impacts them. It should only help them down the run. As they're not playing very well, like we
And
said
yeah,
before. And so
I
now
mean,
that offense can get better here.
and honestly, the other part of it too is because he's an aging wide receiver, because he's been recently injured too and banged up with the Titans, his tenure there, he's not the healthiest guy now. So it's like, what happens if now all of a sudden Hopkins goes down with another injury, maybe season ending? You know, you're still in the
Yep.
same boat, and it's already past the trade deadline. So you're just going to have to rock it out and work with what you have anyway. So we've seen the Chiefs kind of overcome this early in the season where they utilized all their tight ends, Ben Watson, Travis Kelce, and so forth. Like they've utilized 3 tight ends and a wide receiver to kind of make things work. So it's not like they can't make it work. This should make it easier for them, especially adding a talent like Hopkins. But we'll see how things kind of like, work themselves out.
Yep, absolutely. So there you go. DeAndre Hopkins on the move. We'll see what happens moving forward. A couple other names have been out there too. We've heard rumors. You've been following it a lot lately. One rumor we did hear was with the Carolina Panthers for a couple of guys, Bryce Young, but now with Andy Dalton having the accident too, he's in hospitalized, getting resting up his thumb. He had a thumb injury, things like that. He'll get the start now, so at least he won't be getting traded right away, at least right now. But potentially, I think the Panthers can look at this too and say, all right, here, the kid gets another shot. We had benched him before. Maybe he plays different now with a chip on his shoulder. Or then maybe he does look good enough here too that they do want to follow through and get that trade, and he's showing off some of his talent here for another team that's willing to take a shot on him.
Well, I mean, quite honestly, he's going to get that shot this week. Bryce Young's already been touted as the starter, but it's almost like a debut for him to show other teams because let's face it, his tenure now with the Carolina Panthers, it's not exactly solid ground. Dave Canellis is not tied to Bryce Young, so in fact, they could possibly move on from him before we even get to Week 8 game. Like they could trade him to another team if that ends up shaking out. And there's no strings attached with Bryce Young. So he's probably going to stay there. He's probably going to play this week and start for a team. But it's not out of the realm of possibility before we even get to that game that maybe a team is that interested and makes an offer to utilize his services. For Bryce Young, what I would do with this opportunity is just try to limit your mistakes from what you did before. Don't try to make the play happen. If it's not there, take the sack. If it's not there, if you can, get it out of the pocket, throw it away. Be smart about it. Be almost more like a game manager. Don't try to make plays happen. Just if they're there, take advantage of them. If not, let it go. So for Bryce Young, what I'm looking for is just to be solid. That's it. If he can do that, then maybe as we get after this, when we get into the offseason for Carolina, then you might have more teams calling on him, maybe giving up some more better trade compensation than otherwise that they would obtain. But I think this is going to be an interesting situation going forward. Andy Dalton, it's a very sad thing that's happened to him and his family right now, having gone through a major accident. Has gone through, obviously medical attention, what have you. I don't foresee him playing anytime soon, obviously. I don't know if it's going to be like just maybe he misses 1 week. Obviously, it depends on everything, especially with his family. But Andy Dalton and his family, we give you, prayers and wish you nothing but the best.
All right, here we go. Mike Tackett's got something here. He says, here you go. Finish the sentence. Robert Saleh going to Green Bay will be blank.
Will be just a pit stop. It'll just be a pit stop. He's only there to help out one of his best friends in Matt LaFleur. He's on the staff. He's going to help out for this season before he pursues other avenues. So, I mean, I don't think that Green Bay would all of a sudden fire their defensive coordinator because they're playing so well right now. It doesn't make sense to. I mean, why would you disrupt that? So I think Robert Saleh is going to eventually go back to head coaching, or if he doesn't want to be a head coach, I'm sure there's about over half the league that would love his services as a defensive coordinator. So there's going to be no short list of suitors in the offseason for Robert Saleh. He's a good coach. What I thought he did a good job with the Jets as a head coach, but the owner thought otherwise, thought that he needed to make a move. I think it's a mistake, but who knows? Maybe this is kind of one of those blessings in disguise for Robert Saleh. and he's going to have yet another opportunity and possibly a better one.
Yeah, I mean, I like the word you use there too, pit stop. That's a good use of it too, because like you said, they're in the organization to be an assistant, things like that, and kind of keep the seat warm for somebody, for him to move on to somewhere else. I mean, people still see him out there in the league.
Right.
After how the Jets played last week, it wasn't all his fault and things like that. I mean, look at the way they were. It was a disaster. Their interim head coach couldn't even get the challenge flag out of his pocket correctly. And it happened to be a play where the play was successful and they hurried up and Aaron Rodgers threw it back at him. So, I mean, the team has struggled. They're still, having penalties left and right here.
Right.
And so I think he'll find another home somewhere else too and find a spot. Who knows?
Yeah. I just want to say thanks to everybody that's tuning in right now. If you're new to the show, if you haven't done so already, we would really appreciate it if you could help us grow this YouTube channel of ours. Head over to Football on the No Show, hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up for us, and also don't forget to share all to your family and friends that love NFL talk. We are the best and most interactive NFL talk show out there. Yes, of course, we're self-proclaimed, but that's how we like it, and we're going to keep doing it. So appreciate everybody out there. And keep watching. Hey, and feel free, comment down below if you guys have any questions, if you have any comments, or if there's something that you want us to discuss, drop it down below and we'll give you a shout out and we'll respond to you guys.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. We're going remote tonight because my family has COVID here and stuff. Joe's being safe, staying home. And we weren't even sure if we're going to do the show here tonight. So we kind of threw it together here. The trade happens and stuff like that too. So if there is anything else you guys want to talk about too, throw it out there. We're open to suggestions. A couple of different things. We can do some reactions from last week. What do you guys think about, Russell's return here to the Pittsburgh Steelers and the way the Jets performed too in that game? Had opportunities, but penalties just killed their drives so many different times. It was ridiculous. And then Russell Wilson, well, I thought was great though too. And sometimes again, Chris Collinsworth gets dogged and stuff like that during his broadcast and stuff like that. But I think he really dialed it in and where Russell Wilson really excels and what he does. And he needed to get that deep ball to, George Pickens, things like that. And, Freiermuth was one of them, I think, too. He ended up getting one, too. He needed to get that going. And that's part of his game that really, describes him and actually gets him, involved in the offense and, warms them up. Because early on in that game, it was looking putrid. The fans were booing like crazy. He was underthrowing, just missing wide open shots, knocking a bit of the rust off. But then as he warmed up, started to hit some of those deep balls, got back in this game. And then in the second half of the game, it was all Pittsburgh from here on. And it kind of proves the point to why Mike Tomlin named him the starter in the first place. I think it's funny the fact that a lot of people, fans especially, but then also the analysts out there saying, why pull your starter out now to put Russell Wilson? It's like, do you guys remember that he was already named the starter? Like, if you name a guy the starter and this guy's filling in because he's injured, when the starter's healthy, you put the starter back in. I mean, it's not like Justin Fields really, they say ride the hot hand. I don't think Justin Fields was really lighting it up. So he wasn't really exactly the hot hand. He was keeping the seat warm for the time being. And watching some of the games here too, you can tell that the offense stalled out at times with Justin Fields there, and he was missing something, and he was holding them back. And you saw it with Pickens wasn't getting involved in the game either, so they relied heavily on Najee Harris in the run game.
Yep.
So, but as looking on the other side of that game, especially the Jets, the defense still looks good here. They're going to keep them in games, but, Devontae Adams' first game back, it probably didn't go as well as he wanted to, especially didn't want to make a flying, leaping tackle to stop a pick six here. But I think, again, moving forward, they can kind of gather a couple wins together here. Still work on things here. I think Devontae and Aaron Rodgers will be okay, but Garrett Wilson and Aaron Rodgers still not on the same page as some things too, because, that pass to Wilson, it was kind of on his shoulder here. And I don't know if he was expecting it in stride and stuff like that. Either way, it's there. You still have to make that catch, but things like that turn into turnovers and mistakes. And that's where, the offense stalls out a lot of times.
Yeah, it's just a play that Garrett Wilson even admits in the locker room that he just missed. He should have caught the ball, and everybody knows that. Like, he should have caught the ball with his hands and everything. He just didn't. I mean, that's it. Like, open and close the story. Like, it's nothing that communication wise or anything like that. It's just a bad play on his part. So as far as Rodgers goes, this is something concerning for Jets fans, is that this guy is now starting to battle injuries. After last week, now he's dealing with a hamstring. He's dealing with an ankle injury. And you saw him basically hobbling at times in that game back to the sideline, or just kind of walking around before the huddle. This has got to be majorly concerning, because we are just about to approach the halfway point of this season, and the Jets that have not been able to play well, especially offensively, now your quarterback is possibly in jeopardy of stacking injuries, and he might not be available for down the stretch if this keeps going. The offensive line is not protecting well enough for him. He's constantly getting hit, and I'm sorry, the dude is not young anymore, so he can't keep taking hit after hit like he used to and pop up and still be okay. He's starting to hobble around. I wonder his longevity now, even in the second part of the year. I'm not sure. If he keeps taking these hits, it's just going to take one time to put him out for a couple games, maybe even worse. So the Jets, the offensive coordinator for the Jets, Todd Downing, called a really good game last week. However, I think he needs to change up some of the formations, maybe utilize some 12-man personnel where you have 2 tight end sets, something to do to just give some extra pass protection for Rodgers, give him a little bit more time, whether you're sending a running back out from the backfield and chipping one of the better defensive ends. Just do something a little bit different and scheme it a little bit different next week, to kind of give Rodgers a little bit more time, and so he doesn't have to keep getting punished. So look to see if he does, implement some plays like that for this upcoming week, because if he doesn't, and they keep allowing him to get hit like he is, I'm not so sure Rodgers is going to be able to hold up even to the end of the regular season.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is when you look at the team, and I think to help keep the longevity of Aaron Rodgers as it is right now, they've had success running the football. And I think Breece Hall is been doing great. And I think they need to kind of balance that out and kind of ride behind the run game, and then, get the passing game going after that. You know what I mean? Because I think they've been very effective doing that. That should alleviate some of that pressure off of passing it and having Aaron Rodgers do a whole lot, because like you said, when he drops back, he doesn't have a whole lot of time. Especially now with some, I think Fair Tucker went out in that game. I don't know if he's going to be out for multiple games, but he's got
definitely going to be out
game,
this week.
Yeah.
He's going to be out this week. And honestly, it's not even the running game. The running game's fine.
I know the running game's fine.
The offensive line run blocks very well, and that's kind of their strength. But even when they try to mix in the run and utilize the run to open up the pass, it's still not working. They're just not good pass protecting offensive linemen.
Exactly.
It just comes down to that. They're really good at run blocking, but they struggle against the pass protection. And unless they start to scheme their game plan every single week and try to implement with different formations to add extra protection, to allow Rodgers to have maybe a second or two longer to throw the football and not continually taking these hits, until they do something to change it up a little bit, it's going to still be the same thing. So Breece Hall is going to get his yards, and all that's going to happen. But what happens when they shut the run down? Well, you're not successful at all. Now it's going to be all on Rodgers. You're going to have to worry about your offensive line every snap. Are they going to be able to hold off the incoming defense long enough for him to be comfortable, for him to be able to throw the football? That's got to be just majorly concerning. He's already starting to feel the aches and the pains of the injuries that he's dealing with. If this continues, though, it's not going to be a good end result.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Yep. All right, so now, yeah, we got the trade deadline looming in a like just about 2 weeks right now. I think November 5th is the
November 5th.
final
Yeah.
deadline. So we still have some more trades that could potentially happen. We've heard things about the Giants, especially the way they've been losing here with Azeez Ojulari. I
Mhm.
think he could possibly be on the move here. And I think that would make sense here because if you look at sellers and buyers, I think the Detroit Lions, I think, could potentially use some, Ojulari on their team. I think it would fit well with the injury to Aiden Hutchinson, stuff like that. So they need another pass rusher there. And I think Ojulari has been able to step up with the injury to, Kayvon Thibodeau. So that could be a potential trade here, pick up moving forward in the next couple of weeks. What do you
Mhm.
think about that, Joe?
Potentially, yes. Also, the Atlanta Falcons could use another pass rusher. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, I already know that he's in, not in talks, but I know that both those teams are definitely working the phones, trying to find an answer for another pass rusher that they could obtain. And obviously, Azeez Ojulari is definitely one of those guys. And the Giants, honestly, wouldn't mind giving him up because with the acquiring Brian Burns, like he freed up that spot, and they gave it to him, obviously. But now Azeez Ojulari is kind of taking a back seat. He's still kind of in the rotation a little bit, but now it's to the point where like they could cash in, maybe get a extra draft pick for this upcoming draft, and in another team that is in dire need of a pass rusher. So Azeez Ojulari is a excellent target for a lot of teams that are still looking. But I think the top two teams that have to do a trade like this is the Falcons and the Lions. Like they're going to be the two, I think, the most intrigued or interested teams out there for a pass rusher.
Mm-hmm.
We also heard about the Browns, about Myles Garrett. That's been kind of floating around
Yep.
for a whole week about, do they trade him away? We know that there's already been teams that have called Cleveland about possibly maybe obtaining Myles Garrett. Now, I get, you know, I get it because of salary. I get it but he's such a cornerstone piece on that defense. If you move on from Garrett, you're moving on from the only pass rusher you really have, and you're not. You might be able to cash in on some big high end, capital for the draft, but man, you move on from him. It's not like those guys kind of grow on trees and you're just going to get another one for the upcoming draft. So be very careful. I hope the Cleveland Browns are really thinking about this. Like, don't trade him, because if you want to continue to build and move towards what the ultimate goal is possibly winning a Super Bowl someday, by getting rid of your best talented player right now, it's not the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There he is. Tom Leiter's in with the house tonight. He says Ernest Jones to Seattle. He says also he's always late to the game as usual.
I hope that
That's
doesn't.
right, but he's here though. Huh?
Yeah, I hope, Tom, that doesn't mean that you're also late to your own Seattle Seahawks game. You know,
Yeah, I know that
but
was tough too.
yeah, Ernest Jones. I think this is an excellent trade for the Seattle Seahawks. They trade their linebacker for Ernest
Mm-hmm.
Jones, who is definitely a better fit for Seattle. A guy
Mm-hmm.
who I just think is a better player. I think it was Jerome Baker they
Jerome
traded
Baker.
away.
Yep.
But again, I think this is an upgrade for Seattle. It's a great trade for them, and you're starting to see some of these kind of like low key trades. They're not the most gigantic names, but there's been a couple now where it's like they send a player to another team for a low mid round or low round pick, and there's been a couple of these so far, which definitely are going to help the team that acquire the talent. And Seattle's no different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And in 6 games, Jones has generated 44 tackles for 3 losses, and then also 2 passes defended too so far. So he's still playing very well, and the addition to the Seattle defense, I think, will work out nicely for them. What he said, he's going to
Because I'm going to the Buffalo game this Sunday.
game this Sunday.
I'll be on time.
There you go. Nice.
Nice.
That's going to be a good game. I like that game there. I mean, that's going to be exciting to watch, there. So he'll be there.
Yes,
He'll
sir.
be part of the 12th man rooting his team on against
That's
the
right.
Buffalo Bills. and Amari Cooper now, who again his debut went a lot better than Devontae Adams here. He scored a touchdown, so he's got to be happy there being with the Bills. And Josh Allen, I'm sure, is ecstatic as well. Moving forward for them, it was something that they needed desperately here, because they haven't really had any of those guys really stand out as a true number one here. And Josh Allen's put a lot on his back, and it had to make some plays with his body and stuff. And you can't have continued success with that, and withstand the beating, to the playoffs here.
Well, that's the other great thing, is that Buffalo Bills were able to pull off that big trade for Amari Cooper, who really kind of panned out for them, and as quickly as he was only there for a few days, and then ended up catching a touchdown pass that Sunday with Josh Allen. What was interesting, and you saw this a couple times, you saw it with the Jets and Davante Adams, and you also saw it with Amari Cooper and the Bills, on how, because they were so new to the roster, they just got there days earlier, that they don't know the playbook. So sometimes you could see the running back kind of running over to Amari Cooper or Josh Allen himself, kind of whisper like, "Hey, this is the play. You're going to run this route." Like, you know what I mean? Just to kind of simplify everything, and just to get them out there and get them to be involved. So I know Josh Allen is elated after getting rid of Diggs, which kind of broke Josh Allen's heart. Let's face it. Like, he was a real good friend of his, and they moved on from him. Now they acquire Amari Cooper, who is going to fill that void. And by not only filling that void, but also you're starting to see Keon Coleman reap the benefits of it. We talked about this, how it's not going to shut down Keon Coleman or Khalil Shakir. It's actually going to open things up now, because now people are more worried about Cooper than anybody else. And now you see, Keon Coleman starting to get pretty much involved, getting a lot of yards after the catch, and Khalil Shakir still holding on to his, doing what he does best, when the short yardage game. So Bills and Josh Allen, very happy that they could get that done.
Yeah, definitely, Joe. It's going to be good for them moving forward. Now, let's take a look at, before we get into our picks, let's we'll have a little game here, I guess. We've got a bunch of teams here that are now, are still below 500, but right on that creeping spot. And we're not going to exactly do buy or sell or things like that, but let's say who has a chance that really has an opportunity to come back as we're nearing almost the halfway point. It's gonna be week 8. Week 9 is technically the middle. There is no middle now, because we have an 18 week season here with the bye week. But some of these teams on the cusp, and I think they just got the short end of the stick on some of these. And with some of the divisions so tight with wins, like especially the NFC North right now, the worst team in the division is Chicago at 4-2. So I mean, that division's looking pretty good here, and it'll be interesting to see how many teams make the playoffs coming out of that division alone. But Dallas, they've had a bit of a rough patch here. They're sitting here at 500. What do you think about them, and potentially ever to bounce back into this division with the way Washington's been able to play, and then now Philly kind of making a push forward here?
I think they have a very steep hill to climb. I mean, I know they're just 500. However, here's the thing, is the fact that the points for that they have up to this point in the season is 126 points. Now, that might sound like a lot, but compared to what their defense is giving up, the defense is giving up 168 points.
Right.
So more times than not, your defense is giving up points more than you can score. And that's not an equation that you want to be in if you want to get W's. So right now they're struggling a little bit, especially on defense. And we do know that Micah Parsons still has yet to make his return. Deron Bland, who returned last week, got injured. He left. He's kind of on the brink of coming back this week. So both those players sound like they're going to be game time decisions. And whether they make it or not, this is still going to be very difficult for the Cowboys to kind of turn this thing around and get right back into this hunt, especially on a division, plane. Like the Commanders and the Eagles firmly sit ahead of them. And I understand when you look at the Eagles, like, oh, but they're only a game ahead. Well, the Eagles are definitely playing better football than the Cowboys. And honestly, I don't think the Eagles are going to give that spot up way too easily. So the Commanders, they've been a pleasant surprise for this division. They've kind of just surprised a lot of people in its entirety. But Jaden Daniels, the rookie quarterback, opening up that playbook, you're seeing this team kind of really kind of blossom in front of our eyes. 5-2 right now, and nothing seems to be slowing them down. Obviously, the only thing that could is Jaden Daniels missing time. But even then, like I got to say it, Marcus Mariota last week stepped in for Jaden Daniels early, and they romped. They romped who they played. So, and the score ended up being like 40-7.
Yeah.
It was insane.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Mariota did a very good job, especially in this Cliff Kingsbury offense. He fits this offense very well. And even if Daniels misses some time, it seems like they're going to be okay with Mariota, working the quarterback reps. So,
Right.
honestly, with the way the Commanders are playing right now, and the Eagles getting back from their bye week and getting into the swing of things, I just don't see either one of these teams kind of giving up those spots. I think the Cowboys might be in jeopardy of possibly missing the playoffs this year.
Yeah, they definitely have a couple of tight games in the back end of this of their season here. Houston Texans to name one. They've got the Eagles a couple times, and then also those Commanders, which you talked about. But they also have the Cincinnati Bengals too in a few weeks or so down the road, and that's one of the other teams I wanted to kind of bring up here too. Before I do, though, real quick on the Dallas Cowboys. They 32nd in the league rushing. That is a major problem here. And if you can't run the ball effectively, that definitely makes you one-sided. And with that offensive line hasn't been holding protection too, like they had in the past. And red zone, 31st in the league on offense, 31st on defenses too. So letting teams score against them in the red zone, and then when they get to the red zone, like we've said before, you see Dak Prescott throwing interceptions, stuff like that, not coming away with points, not very effective. So one other team I would like to bring up too is the Cincinnati Bengals. They're sitting there at 3-4. And I think they still have a chance to kind of bounce back in this playoff hunt still with some of the teams that they're going to be facing moving forward. But they did set themselves behind. But you also have the Pittsburgh Steelers tied for the division lead with the Baltimore Ravens here at 5-2. So they're still within reach here in the AFC hunt.
Yeah, of course they are, and we've seen this, time and time again. The Bengals always starting off really slow, getting behind the eight ball, kind of, so to speak, and then all of a sudden they explode and find their way. So like the offense, you've noticed a big difference when T. Higgins wasn't there versus when he is there. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins feed off each other in that offense. Joe Burrow having another go-to weapon, and this offense kind of just hit it on all cylinders, taking over games, and Joe Burrow feeling a lot more comfortable, dishing out the ball to T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, just to name the two top targets there. Yep. But he does have other options, everybody. There's another option by the name of Chase Brown out of the backfield that they get the ball to. And this team is starting to wake up, especially offensively. And since the offense has gotten back on track, the defense is starting to come around the corner too. So now that they're able to put points on the board, the defense isn't playing as much as they were before. And getting all those reps and getting tired. But now you're starting to see a changing of the guard. They've put up 178 points up to this point, and the defense is now limiting to 166. So before, that number was so high and the offensive scoring was so low that you could honestly understand why they were just losing game after game. But now that their offense has woken back up, they got T. Higgins back into the lineup. They're starting to find their way, and I definitely think that this Bengals team is definitely on the rise and definitely going to be competing for a playoff spot at the end of the year.
Right. Chase Brown, again, averaging 5 yards per carry, so definitely better than what they've had with Zach Moss and missing Joe Mixon. You see what Mixon, coming back from injury, even what he's been doing there for the Houston Texans. I know that the Cincinnati Bengals could use something like that and miss that at this point right now. All right. How about the San Francisco 49ers here? They are in a tie with the Arizona Cardinals, who ended up solidifying a win against the Chargers.
Mhm.
And so now we've got San Francisco looking upwards at the division for once here at the Seattle Seahawks at 3-4, tied with the Cardinals. But again, Seattle's only there at 4-3. They've got a tough road here against the Buffalo Bills this week, and Seattle's going to be at home. So they've got a tough matchup. San Francisco has the Dallas Cowboys, in which we just mentioned here. So we're going to get a winner out of that one. So this team as well on the cusp, suffering major injuries here in the wide receiving situation here. But Debo, again, had like an illness. It seems like he should be okay, taking his fluids, to get back here and play for them this coming week. And I forget, we've posted the stat here before, but again, when you don't have Debo in the game, the chance of winning and losing with the 49ers here, it drastically drops. He is such a key point to that offense, despite of the weapons that they do have. And really, at this point now, they could really use Christian McCaffrey to come back here. So, I mean, once they get him back, I think that'll help right the ship a little bit here too. And as you spoke before, when the season was going to start here in the preseason, what was the effect of losing some of these guys, key players on defense here? You're seeing the effect here. They're not getting the pressures like they have in the past here on the defensive side of the ball.
Let's put this into perspective, though, because Brandon Ayuk is one of the guys that he's done for the year. They're not going to get him back, and that's one wide receiver who they typically haven't been utilizing very heavily this whole season. So that to me is not it's a loss, but it's not that major. George Kittle is a more prominent part of the offense, along with Debo Samuel, and then you also have the emergence of Juwan Jennings, who, in the absence of Debo, has been cashing in. He's been making the plays. And now you also have Ricky Parasol, the rookie that they drafted this past year. Unfortunately, sustained a shot, got shot in the chest, and he was able to overcome that. Now this guy is going to get his chance to shine, for the upcoming week here. You got Juwan Jennings, you got Ricky Parasol, who a lot of people believe that could take that next step and become another starter for the Niners. And honestly, with Debo, it was pneumonia is what he was trying to get over. Still is. He does have a small wrist injury too, so we're going to have to evaluate that throughout the week. But he definitely does have a chance to return this week. As far as McCaffrey goes, they don't even need McCaffrey. Like, they have the emergence of Jordan Mason, who's been able to hold it down in the run game and do it at a very high level. So I don't think, McCaffrey, obviously, I'm not trying to make a comparison like he's just as good as McCaffrey. But what I'm saying is it's not that big of a drop-off.
It's not killing him. Yes.
So Mason is actually doing a very good job for them. It's not them. It's not the fact that they don't have, Brandon Ayuk. It's not the fact that, even Debo being out last week, I still don't think that's the reason why the team is kind of faltering. Like, yes, he's been banged up from time to time, but as his team gets healthier, and as far as Brock Purdy goes, he had a terrible game last week. That's kind of what led that team to, a dismal performance and not being able to capitalize and getting a W. Look for that to change this week, because Brock Purdy is a very good quarterback. He's going to bounce back from that. They're going to establish a new game plan for this week, and they're going to get on board. Juwan Jennings obviously is going to take a more prominent role now that Brandon Ayuk is out. Ricky Parasol, watch for him to kind of be sprinkled into this offense, and who knows how big of an impact he's going to make as a rookie. But again, these are guys that can make plays, and especially if Debo is able to return, this team will get back on track, and everybody can start to relax and not to be, start to overhype this thing and just say like the sky is falling all of a sudden in San Fran. It's not. They're only 3-4. It's not like they're 1-5 or 1-6 or anything like that. So temper the expectations here. Relax a little bit. There's a long season. You got the whole second half of the season left. I think the Niners are definitely going to turn this thing around, and they'll definitely be right back in, the division lead sometime soon, and everybody can calm down and they'll be in the playoffs.
Right. And even if you look at the division now, with this one, you just got to win it, I think, at this point, too. With nobody's really running away with it. It seems like the Rams now, if they're talking about trading away a Cooper Kupp, and we've heard rumors with Matthew Stafford, I don't think they're really looking to tank on the season and just to be done, and trade it all in. But the fact that they're ready to move on from Cooper Kupp seems like they're looking to change some gears here. So it's anybody's division right now, and San Francisco 49ers have a lot of talent there. I think they definitely have a shot to come back into this, make the playoffs, and possibly take the division here.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring up Cooper Kupp because those have been rumors, and now it sounds like it's actually a thing with the LA Rams that they're definitely willing and able to move on from Cooper Kupp. Puka Nacua is due to come back. He's not going to be back Thursday night. He's definitely going to be back the following week. But again, Cooper Kupp, here's the interesting part, though, is now that they've kind of let the cat out of the bag about Cooper, and Cooper's heard this, obviously. So how does that make him feel now, knowing that the team is pretty much ready to move him to another team and not think twice about it? So the relationship now between the Rams and Cooper Kupp, this is almost the type of thing is now that you've announced it publicly, you've announced it and everybody knows it, you got to make it happen now. You got to trade the guy away. Otherwise, I'm not 100% sure how he's going to respond. I want to believe that he's going to be a professional about it, play out this season, and then they can revisit it in the offseason. But if the Rams now it's almost like now that you've opened up Pandora's box, it's almost like you have to make this thing happen before we even get to the deadline. You got to move on from him some way, somehow. And what team would be willing to trade for him now? Because, they're like the Kansas City Chiefs. They just got their guy. They got DeAndre Hopkins. So everybody was pushing for maybe the Chiefs acquiring Kupp. That didn't happen. So now it's like you've announced that you're going to trade him. And I honestly think the Rams thought that they might have had something going with Kansas City. I think that they really believed that maybe they might be able to make a deal happen with Kansas City, and then that fell through somehow. And that's why all of a sudden it seemed like Hopkins was the hot name, instantly for the Chiefs. So things broke down there. And now you got Cooper Kupp standing out there all by himself, wondering what his future is going to be. So I just don't know what team is going to be willing to go after him at this point, because we all thought that for sure the Chiefs were going to be the ones. That didn't happen. You look at other teams. You think about Tampa Bay now, like the Buccaneers. Like Jim, I know you mentioned in last night's show, you were talking about maybe Hopkins also possibly going to the Buccaneers, which would have made a lot of sense. But now that he's gone and off the table, Buccaneers, maybe you guys should be ringing the phone off the hook for the Rams and saying, hey, we want Cooper Kupp, because this could give us a boost and keep us in the hunt for the playoffs, let alone the division. They're tied right now 4-3 with the Falcons. And that's a matchup that's about to happen where winner takes the division, or at least takes the division lead for right now. So I don't know why you would wait. I mean, and pull the trigger now. Go get Cooper Kupp. Give yourself some extra arsenal there, because Chris Godwin, sadly, he's done for the year. But Mike Evans, he's going to be out for 4 weeks or so. He's going to come back. But if he comes back and he also has Cooper Kupp on the other side, now you have something going on a little bit. So that's something that I hope to happen, because that's the only other team right now that I feel like is desperate for another, big time player, and that could take that they would definitely work into that contract or whatnot and move forward. So AFC wise, Chargers, you can bring up the Chargers all you want, but I just don't know if Jim Harbaugh will ever pull a trade on a wide receiver, no matter who it is, no matter what caliber. Guy just doesn't value wide receivers like everyone else does for some reason. But other than that, I mean, I know the Steelers have always kind of been talked about in the trade realm for wide receiver. Maybe they step in and add Cooper Kupp to the Steelers. So that's something else to keep an eye on. Other than that, I think that's about it. Like, I really don't think any other teams are going to reach out to the Rams at this point. I think those two teams, Rams got to get something done with those two. And that just makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, definitely. And again, Baker Mayfield did play for the Rams for a short time too. So I mean, if you can reunite
He's
him over
familiar
there
for sure.
with Cooper Kupp, I think that would make sense there too. For him and help him, I think he'd feel comfortable doing that. Because again, there were some guys we were talking earlier today about it, and they couldn't even name some of the guys that are on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers receiving squad besides the two starters that had gone down,
Oh,
Chris
that's funny.
Godwin and
That's
yeah.
funny.
So they're like, well, who else they got? And they're like,
Well, they
Sterling
got
Shepard.
they got Sterling Shepard, they got Trey Palmer, they got
Yep,
Cade Otton,
yep,
and
Trey Palmer.
they got Jeremy McMillan, the rookie.
Yep.
So there you go. There's four. That's who
Boom, there
they're
you
going to
go.
rock
Joe's
with
got
right
it.
now.
Yep. So, but yeah, we'll see. We'll still keep following that. Again, trade deadline November 5th. So we got plenty of time to find out who gets dealt. And yeah, so I mean, it'll be interesting to follow. I think one more division I want to look at, and even kind of two teams that are both at the same record,
Okay.
now have intriguing storylines to themselves, to where I think they have potential again, where they're under 500. And I think this week moving forward, they have opportunities. And I want to talk about the Miami Dolphins and the New York Jets. Both their Dolphins are at 2-4, Jets 2-5. Jets obviously a little deeper hole, but the Miami Dolphins expected to get Tua back, and we saw the difference when they didn't have him here. And for all the people that knock Tua, saying he's not that great or this that he's not the key to it. Have you watched the last couple of weeks here too without him too? I mean, so they're struggling definitely without him. They're looking forward to getting him back. I think that team turns the team around instantly, at least offensively, to get them going here. And then the Jets they do get Devontae Adams here. Last week it was a little bit of a debacle, but I think if they start to turn it around and eliminate penalties, is what I'm trying to. They're like one of the highest penalized teams in the NFL right now, if not the highest penalized. Relax on that and then get the game going, because that has stalled many drives throughout this year, to where they would probably be at 500 at least right now, or pretty close to it. So if they eliminate the penalties, they're in a better shape here. But again, now they've got another weapon here moving forward. Miami's got Tua. What do you think about these two teams?
So starting with the Dolphins, I'll say this. Everybody understands now, like Dolphins fans too. Do you guys really understand that Tua is really important for your offense? Because without Tua, you guys have the least amount of scoring as an offense in the entire NFL with 70 points. So if that doesn't prove to you guys that he is definitely worth being your starter, I don't think anything will. So that's how important Tua is to this offense. That's how important it is to the weapons that they have. When Tua is there, they're one of the best offenses in football. When Tua's not there, clearly they're one of the worst. So when Tua returns, and it seems like he'll return this week, obviously he still has to get full clearance from concussion protocol still, but he is going to practice lightly right now until he gets that clearance for his concussion protocol. So I think Tua, once he returns, this team is going to automatically jump right back into the race for the division. Like, that's what they've been sorely missing, is their quarterback. Once he gets back and once he kind of dusts off the rust, it's going to be like he never left. The offense is going to be prolific. It's going to be fun to watch. They're going to rack up a lot of points, and they will start to get back into this race. The Jets, on the other hand, that's a concerning thing for me. This is a team that we definitely had a lot of confidence in prior to the season starting. And now, after what we've been able to witness, the offense is just clearly not playing well. And it's not just oh, Garrett Wilson not catching the ball sometimes, or Garrett Wilson kind of miscommunication between him and Rodgers in terms of what route to run in a certain play. Now that they got Devontae Adams, there's no more excuses. You got all the weapons in the world. Tyler Conklin, who's kind of like a under the radar tight end, he's doing his job. Garrett Wilson, a playmaker all on his own, and Devontae Adams, someone that he's going to learn how to be even better than what he's already been able to accomplish. You put them and Breece Hall in the backfield, an upgraded offensive line with Rodgers. Everybody thought, we included, thought that this team was going to be definitely one of the teams that were going to challenge for this division. And instead, it's a putrid offense right now with all of those pieces. And I understand Adams just got there a week ago, but going forward, this team has to be better. I feel like the play calling got better, but the results are the same. And Rodgers really needs to wake up, because something that I've seen this past week that I never thought I would see is Rodgers declining. Rodgers is not the same.
Right.
He still throws the same ball, the tight spiral and all that, but for some reason the it factor is gone. Like he used to just come up with magical throws all the time. Not seeing that now. You're seeing Aaron Rodgers now getting injured mid-game, walking a little gingerly, and we're not even halfway through the year yet. So that team to me is concerning. We've already talked about it earlier in this show about how the offensive line just not very good at pass protection. It's hurting Rodgers because he keeps taking these hard hits. And that to me, going forward, cannot continue. If it does, the team might be without Rodgers yet again this season, because he's not going to be able to keep sustaining those hits and popping up like he used to in his prime. So the Jets, I still feel like they have one of the best defenses. It's just being camouflaged because the offense cannot put points on the board. So for the Jets, to me, that to me is going to be a harder pill to swallow. I just don't know if they're going to be able to turn it around just yet. But all indications, it doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, and the thing is with Rodgers too, he's openly said that he has other interests besides the NFL. He is older. He looks it on the field. He looks at it. He looks it in the photos that they show during the games too. It's like he's the only dude with a full beard of gray and everything and stuff like that too. And he just looks strung out even in his photo that they have on for the game. So I think it's hilarious there with that. But if your head's not completely in it, you're there. You mentioned even you're not sure if he even just signed for the money for the hell of it, and But if the drive isn't there and you're getting beat up every day, I'm sure you're going to work and then you're like, oh boy, I don't know, I'm kind of tired of this. You know what I mean? I'm tired of getting beat up every day. I don't really need this. Maybe I just walk away or something. You know what I mean? So I could even say, and he'd be like injured enough that I don't feel like going in. I'm done. Or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
Who knows? He always looks kind of defeated out there at times. You know what I mean? And it sucks because, again, you remember Aaron Rodgers for who he's been. I mean, one of the highest QBRs in NFL history for a career QBR. Accuracy, you know what I mean? Doesn't have the championships to show it, but, you're looking at Aaron Rodgers and you're like first ballot Hall of Famer. And now he's not playing like it. I mean, I think the contrast what kind of skews it and kind of screws you up is the fact that Tom Brady left the Tampa Bay, or left the Patriots, went to Tampa, and within a season or so won a championship with Tampa. You know what I mean? So just like that. And some people I think expected the Rodgers kind of do that same type of thing. They're obviously two different types of quarterbacks, but he has that ability. You know what I mean? I think as well, and just we're not seeing it play out on the field right now.
Right.
All right. So, that was a couple of different talking points here too. Tell us what you guys think about some of these, or if you guys got questions out there, let us know in the comments. I've got the QR codes here too, guys. I put the Raise one up there. So if you guys need your Raise energy, don't forget, we still are sponsored by them. You guys can get your Raise. Put the promo code Raise them up in there. And here's the QR code for our show. Support the stream. Absolutely. That sends you right directly to our YouTube page. to where you can just hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, let you know whenever we go live, and see all the past photo videos if you want to as well, and then other events we have moving forward. So we appreciate definitely the support you guys have been giving us, and especially even on our other show, the Blindside Blitz as well. Thank you so much. All right, Joe, it's week 8 right now. We've got the picks coming up. I don't have the graphic here because, it's been tough getting this stupid thing going here, but we are remote on Restream. And, but right now we're above 500. We're doing good. We're tight. I've only got a 3-game lead right now at this point, and it could change this week. We've got the Minnesota Vikings and the Los Angeles Rams. Rams are at home here on Thursday night. What do you think about this one?
This one is going to be interesting because obviously we're not going to see Puka Nacua return this Thursday night, which I know Rams fans are very upset about. They can't wait to get him back out there. Cooper Kupp is going to be interesting because I wonder if they don't allow him to play because they might potentially have a trade partner for him. They don't want to risk injury. But here's what I'll say. If Cooper Kupp is out for Thursday night football, then you can almost as sure as shit believe that they have a trade in place and they're working on it to get it all ironed out and that he will be on the move. If he plays, then I don't think that there is a team that is maybe one interested or two can able to complete a trade. And he's going to be staying with the Rams at least for the rest of this season. So that's what you can count on. For the Rams, we've known that this young defense of theirs has been playing way better than expectations. And the rookies, Braden Fisk and Jared Verse, have been wreaking havoc in the backfield. So kudos to the Rams for double dipping at defensive line this past draft. And the offense, though, despite not having Puka, despite not having Cooper, they've managed to figure out other players like Tutu Atwell, Whittingham. They've managed to utilize those young wide receivers to kind of make up for their loss. So the Rams, I feel like, are going to, in this matchup, I feel like they're going to be, it's not going to be a blowout, but it has the potential to be. I think the Rams keep it close. But in the end, I think that I'm going to have to go with the Vikings in this one. I think that the Vikings, after their loss last week, they're looking to kind of get back. This might even be a statement game for them and kind of get back on track. So I think that the Vikings are going to definitely not only just be able to overwhelm at times the Rams, but I just feel like
Oops. I lost you, Joe. See if you can come back here. We lost Joe. I know the video is freezing for a little bit here, so we're going to try and get Joe back. Yeah, so I'm looking at this one again. Rams, especially now that the trade rumors are coming out. I think that's a key factor here, just like Joe said. If you don't see Cooper Kupp in this game, especially dressed, not dressed rather, I think he is on the trade block, and they are pushing him hard to get traded. Christian Dickinson is in the house with us tonight. He says, I heard rumors of a Stafford to New York Giants trade. Anyone else heard that rumor? Yeah, well, we definitely heard that Stafford potentially is on the trade block as well, not only Cooper Kupp. And Joe and I were kind of perplexed by that because it just doesn't seem very Rams-ish to me. I mean, if you look at the Los Angeles Rams, I think they feel that they're always have the ability to win. There you go. Joe's back. I know he lost your video, and then all of a sudden you must have got booted completely, but there you are.
I lost my video like a while ago.
Yeah.
Too. You could still hear me, but for some reason it was all locked up. So we're back on track now.
Yep. Christian Dickinson said that he's heard about Matthew Stafford to the New York Giants or potentially the Vikings. And I was just discussing the fact that, we heard that Matthew Stafford potentially was on the trade block or whatever. But you and I weren't exactly buying into that because it did seem like the Rams are in sell mode right now. I think
No,
they
it's
still
fake
have an
news.
opportunity
Christian,
to
it's fake
win.
news.
Mhm.
I know it might have been exciting. Maybe it's a possibility,
You
but
are fake news.
it's simply not going to happen. The Rams are just not going to give up on the season right now. It's too early for them. They're not out of the realm of getting back into the race. So Stafford's not going anywhere. He's
It's
not
all
going to
fake
Minnesota.
news.
He's not
It's
going to the
phony
Giants.
stuff. It didn't happen.
Yep.
And that to me was just like a really ridiculous. I don't know who report or put that out there. Maybe it was just kind of like one of the media outlets that just wanted to stir the pot a little bit.
Mhm.
But it's absolutely ridiculous for even to think that Stafford would be on the move from the Rams. Because what do they got?
Right.
What they got?
Right.
They don't have another
Yeah,
answer.
no, they don't. No. Unless again, unless for some stupid ass reason that like Sean McVay says, I'm going to take Daniel Jones. You guys have Stafford, and I'm going to fix this kid. I mean that would be amazing. But so out of this game here, I still haven't made my pick. But Joe, I'm going to go with you here too. I think the Vikings are upset about losing that last week's game here. I think they fight back here against the Rams team, who, like you said, it was nice to see what they're doing with the defensive side, but still having some struggles here. I'm going to go with the Minnesota Vikings on this one. The Baltimore Ravens. What's up?
Christian just chimed in. He said, I was going to make a comment. Joe, a man of many talents, can talk without moving a single muscle on his face.
Your ventriloquism game is tight right now, Joe.
Yes.
Oh, man.
I was just checking
your
to see if you
voice.
were paying attention, Christian.
Yeah,
Just checking to
that's
see
right.
if you're paying attention.
Yeah, absolutely. He is, which we really appreciate that. And
That's
everybody
funny.
who scanned the QR code, we get to see when you guys do scan the QR codes. We definitely appreciate that too as well.
Appreciate it.
Baltimore Ravens, Cleveland Browns, Cleveland. Here you go. No more Deshaun. There's no more Deshaun Watson. He's done now, injured once again. And now Cleveland's struggling here. You know what I mean? They signed, what was it? Who did they sign again now just to bring in? I can't remember.
The Cleveland Browns?
The Cleveland Browns, yeah. They signed a quarterback too to come in too, I think. I think they just did too, but not that he's going to get playing time even right now. But they're going to start Jameis Winston, but they signed another quarterback too as well to join. I can't remember who it was, but it was a small little signing. Yeah, they did. It was a former player, nobody of real substance, but Jameis Winston, they're going to give him the ball here. You've got Nick Chubb coming back, so that's a good factor for them. He was their bell cow anyways. He was their whole offense before to an extent too. The dude's a beast. Well, let's see how he's going to perform though with the way this offensive line has been terrible because of injuries. I mean, they're depleted. So and they're actually on the list of some of these teams that could potentially be selling. I know Joe just talked about it. Myles Garrett potentially, and they've also we've read an article from Bleacher Report about Newsome. So we'll see if they do start selling some of these players away in the trade when the trade deadline comes up. But facing against Baltimore, who lost the first two games and now they've won 5 straight. They're on a roll. They looked really good last week against their opponent, and I think they're going to do the same thing here. Cleveland just is very diminished right now, not looking very good. I like the Ravens on this one.
It's funny that you mentioned they're diminished when they're getting healthy too, because Jack Conklin looks like he's going to be back. Wyatt Teller, their star-studded guard of theirs, is designated to return from IR, so they're getting some health back on the offensive line. But it's a little too late because Deshaun Watson goes down. He's done for the year. Jameis Winston, like Jim just mentioned, it has been announced the starter, which, to be honest with you, I think it's a bad decision because Dorian Thompson-Robinson, when he filled in when Watson left the game, did a pretty darn good job. Was feeding, David Njoku the football. Also, a player by the name of Cedric Tillman. You may not know him, but apparently DTR knows him very well because he threw him 12 times, caught 8 balls, 80 yards, and a touchdown. So to make this move right now, and Dorian Thompson-Robinson, his right finger, he had an injury in that game, but he practiced in full today. So I find it intriguing the fact that the organization decided to go with Winston over Dorian Thompson-Robinson when I feel like he deserves another opportunity this week. So Winston, I don't know how to take this. The guy usually throws interceptions every single time he's out there. He basically averages 2 every time he's a starter. So I don't think this is going to be a very good play for Cleveland. Nick Chubb being there, another week of being healthy. Look for him to his reps to be ramped up a little bit more this week, especially with a healthier offensive line, or at least that's what it looks like now. But again, with all that being said, I definitely don't think it's going to be enough for a team that they're going to have to face that is just flying high right now. The Ravens have been on defense, just feeding on offenses up to this point. And Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, the tag team duo that is them, they're going to put a lot of pressure on the Cleveland Browns defense. So give me Baltimore in this one.
Oh, and also for Cleveland, Kevin Stefanski announced that the offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey will take over play calling for him now.
I just checked it up. They did not. This is not the team that signed a quarterback. They still have Dorian Thompson-Robinson and Jameis Winston. I think you might be thinking of the Raiders.
Maybe it was. Yeah,
with Ritter, Desmond Ritter got
yeah,
signed.
That could be it. Yeah, that could be it. So yeah, here we go. We're both on board with the Baltimore Ravens. I think they're going to roll on this one. Tennessee Titans. They're just traded away DeAndre Hopkins. They're looking forward to next season. Haven't played really well. Detroit at home. I think the crowd's going to be rocking. This team is probably the best team in the NFL right now. Who cares what the Chiefs record is? Detroit is getting it done in all phases of the game, putting up major points. Yeah, you can't say anything about the quarterback. You can't say anything about the offense, the way it's moving, or the defense even at this point, even though they're missing Aiden Hutchinson. I like the Detroit Lions in this one at home.
Yeah, and this is one of those things. Tennessee is selling right now. And the Detroit Lions are just playing great football right now. Offensively, defensively, one of those teams that are still in the trade market for a pass rusher. We'll see if they can pull that off by November 5th. But it's that simple. Detroit Lions all day long in this one. They're home. Like, it's not looking good for Tennessee. They're about to be romped on.
Yep. Next up, we've got the Arizona Cardinals and the Miami Dolphins. Cardinals win in the last remaining seconds of the game against the Chargers here. Chargers had an opportunity, but a miscommunication here. Wide receiver to Justin Herbert. So that seals the game here. Only able to come away with 3 points there, and it wasn't enough to get it done. But Cardinals, again, surprisingly here, they are with their record. But they go face off against a Miami Dolphins team who looks like they're going to get Tua back from the concussion protocol. And like we said just a little bit ago, that they're just a different team when he's there. We've seen it when they don't have Tua in there. Now he's in there, and now you can get the ball to the playmakers here. They're in Miami, so I think that'll bode well for them. I'm going to side with the Miami Dolphins on this one.
Yeah, Tua, that's the thing. He returned to practice on a limited basis. What they're saying is that he's definitely is ready to go, but he still needs to clear concussion protocol. So we still got to get that clarification yet. Once that happens, he's definitely starting. And this team just desperately needs him back. Their offense has been spitting and sputtering ever since he left. And to get back into the hunt, they need Tua there. So if Tua is able to return, Dolphins all day long to me. I think this is going to be a closer game than people might anticipate, because the Cardinals defense is a really good defense. They proved that last week against the Chargers. But I think this is going to be a close game, but I'm going to give me the Miami Dolphins in this one.
All right, we lost your video again, but I can hear your audio just fine. I don't know if you want to keep rolling with that. That's up to you. Christian says, you guys really feel comfortable putting him back in there?
Absolutely, because the medical doctors are clearing him. Like, they're not going to put him in too early. So, and obviously the Dolphins are worried about him getting another one, right? So they're going to make sure that he's ready to go before he gets back in there. So no doubt about it. I feel completely comfortable if he gets clarification and he's good to go, you put him back in.
Right. Now, do you think even if he plays with a guardian cap on top of everything too, or you think he just just goes in and plays.
That's his personal preference, honestly, dude. Like
Mhm.
he could wear a different helmet that's
Yep.
as just as good as those Guardian caps,
Mhm.
and wear a Guardian cap too
Yep.
if he wanted. I think of all people, he should definitely do double it
Yeah,
up. You know
double,
what I
yeah.
mean? But
Yep, double
we'll
wrap it.
see. We'll
Yep.
see.
Yeah, because I even saw for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the offensive lineman coming back from the concussion protocol too. Again with the Guardian cap, it's better to be safe than sorry here, especially with Tua. You never know. Christian thinks one hit and he's done. We'll see. Well, we hope not. Again, we think he's a really talented player, and I wish him the best and hope that he has success in this league and can stay healthy. All right, what else does he say? He says they threw him back in the game a couple of plays after he went down. Last year or 2 years ago? It was a couple years ago, and then remember, I think he wobbled a little bit, and then went in. Yes, they've done that, but I think now
They
with
took him
the
out of that
way
game though.
what they did,
They didn't. He didn't go back in.
right, right. He tried. No, yeah, he wobbled, got back up, and then then they took him out. But I think also with the focus on him right now, I don't think they're going to do anything like that. I think they're definitely playing it safe on all realms. They're going to definitely let Tua probably speak on the podium about it, tell everybody his side of view, and what his plan is. And that's only the safe way to do it. That way, again, that covers Miami on their end, and you got Tua's plan. So you can't say that it wasn't coming from him, that it wasn't his decision to play. Even though a lot of people have been, openly speaking to Tua about this, and people in the media and all you guys facing telling your opinions about this too, is say maybe you should just step away. But ultimately, it's his decision, and hopefully, again, he can stay healthy. And then Christian also says, at and that same drive went down, and they couldn't go back in the rest of the year. They shut him down. All right, we have Joe back. Yeah, why are we having issues all of a sudden right at the tail end of this? This is crazy.
Because I think we've overstayed our welcome. To
Yeah,
be honest with you.
perhaps. Yeah, it could be. But Christians, yeah, talking about that play again.
Mhm.
And that was the past. Like I was just explaining to Christian here that if he does play, we're going to have him, have his press conference. He's going to be on the podium, and he's going to tell his side and what his plans are going forward here and playing and things like that. And I think that's the if you want to call it the safe route, or the route that the Miami Dolphins are going to be on too, because they've openly asked him. The Dolphins have played it safe. They're also saying, hey, we're not going to let him in unless the doctor says he's completely healthy, and it is to his decision what he wants to do with his career. We're comfortable with him walking away and moving on if that's what he decides to do for him and his family. But we would love to have him back as well. So they've done everything that they could. I don't think they're exactly forcing him back. And if he comes back, I think they're going to make sure that he's on this podium and saying, I made the decision to come back. I want to play, and this is how I feel.
Yeah, I don't see him making a press conference, honestly. Like this, he's just going to come back and play. And for anybody that wants to rag on the Dolphins and call them out as an organization, listen, they're working hand in hand with Tua. They've talked with his family. Tua has talked with his family, and this is what it is. Like Tua really wants to play that bad. He loves this game that much. He's willing to risk his life over this. Like there was a conversation that was had the last time he suffered a major concussion, and that he really wants to play, so he's going to play. It's his life. I don't think it's the wisest thing, and if he wants to play, that's fine, but he definitely needs to wear not only one of the better helmets out there, but he also has to double up and wear that Guardian cap on top of it to try to prevent this from ever happening again to him. Because out of all the players throughout the league, he's the one that has not only multiple concussions, a lot of them, but more severe ones. So for Tua, let's see what happens this week. If he clears the concussion protocol, he's good to go. He'll be out there. But I'm more interested to see what precautions Tua takes now that he suffered yet another concussion.
All right, let's move on with our picks here. We got the New York Jets and the New England Patriots. We talked about the Jets possibly trying to make a run and get back in this thing. I think it's the perfect team to kind of face here to try and right the ship here. They
Mhm.
do need to limit the mistakes here and the
Yeah,
penalties
right.
because well, we've talked about it last night and then also even last week. With this
Mhm.
Patriots team, they're not very good right now, but they've got Drake May in and he's only getting better.
Yeah,
So we just need
yeah.
them to get it clicking one of these weeks, and it could catch a team like this, like the Jets, who make a lot of mistakes and kind of shoot themselves
They
in the
might.
foot. But with this one, I think it's a perfect opponent to face right now. I like the Jets in this one.
It's the perfect opponent to face, but at the
I think
same
right now,
time,
but it could be
At the
scary.
same time, this could go very wrong. And if the
Mhm,
Jets were to lose this game, a lot of questions are going to come up. A lot of
mhm,
questions like, was it worth getting Rodgers? Is he really in? You know what I mean? There's going to be a lot of like hysteria in New York City over this if they are to lose. But with that all being said, I feel like this is a game that they must win. They have
mhm.
to win this game. And if they don't, like I said, it's going to be mayhem with the Jets. So, especially on media day, oh,
Yep.
yeah, that'll be something fun to tune into if that happens. But I don't
Oh yeah.
foresee it. The Jets, this is a game they have to win. They have to get back on the same page. And now that you have Adams there, now practicing another week, learning more of the playbook, getting more used to what they're trying to do there in New York. I think this is definitely a game that the Jets must win and will win.
Yep. All right. Next, we've got the Atlanta Falcons and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Atlanta again let us down last week. Thought they had an opportunity to come back off of the bye here and collect another win, but they
Mhm.
were a bit rusty, especially Kirk Cousins making mistakes, throwing when defenders right on you and hitting his arm, interception, and it's not good. They could let us down on this one, but I hope with this one facing a Tampa Bay Buccaneer team, now they've lost their two top wide receivers, look a little bit vulnerable after that close game. Um, so I think the Atlanta Falcons have an opportunity to come out of this one in a tough rivalry game. This one's going to be tight, I think, either way. It's going to come down to probably Kirk Cousins and his arm. If he can get the passing game going, I think both teams are going to run effectively. But I like the Atlanta Falcons in this one.
Yeah. So with this matchup is interesting because obviously everybody was anticipating Mike Evans being there, Chris Godwin being there, Godwin done for the year. A lot of the younger guys are going to have to step up. And when I say younger guys, I don't mean Sterling Shepard.
No.
So, uh, but the one good thing that Tampa Bay has really going for them is their run game. Bucky
Yep.
Irving, the rookie from Oregon, has been basically just the better back in that
Yep.
backfield. Rashad White
Yep.
isn't very good. He's adequate, but he's not as good as Bucky Irving. It's been proven time and time again, especially last week. You look at Bucky Irving and his production is through the roof. And then they also have another running back by the name of Sean Tucker, who took the league by storm in 1 week, basically only rushing 14 times 2 weeks ago for over 130 yards and a touchdown. That's something that you're going to have to utilize a little bit more of, especially going into this matchup. Use your better running backs. The hot hand deserves the ball. And then for Baker Mayfield, he's going to have to try to establish a chemistry with the rookie and McMillan, also with Trey Palmer, and obviously the connection for Sterling Shepard has been there since their days together in Oklahoma in college. So look for Shepard to be the move the sticks type of guy. He's going to definitely be more involved. But McMillan's definitely going to have to step up. Trey Palmer's going to have to step up. And who knows? Maybe we're talking now, it's Wednesday. Maybe on Friday, Cooper Kupp gets traded there, and we're
Mhm.
talking about a whole other, game plan for them. So,
Mhm.
uh, Tampa Bay defensively, they've been hit or miss, honestly. Look at what they were able to do early in that Baltimore game. They were all over Lamar Jackson. They sacked them a couple times. They disrupted that offense. And then as the game progressed, you notice that when they got the running game going, all hell broke loose. So they gotta capitalize on defense. Their offense has to step up yet again. It's definitely tough. In Atlanta, I'm struggling with the Falcons right now. When I thought I knew who they were, last week they proved otherwise. Kirk Cousins looked like a shell of himself last week. It was very disturbing. The offense wasn't running correctly. They weren't executing their passing plays. Guys were dropping the football. It was just very unfortunate to watch. In this matchup, both teams are coming in. You know, Atlanta's actually a little healthier than Tampa Bay, obviously. But I'm sorry. I think Baker Mayfield is going to overcome this. I feel like this team overall is just better and more adequate to kind of still get a win against Atlanta.
All right. Next, we've got the Chicago Bears and the Washington Commanders. Again, Washington now, Jalen Daniels got injured in the game early again, but comes back. Thumbs up, says, I'm still okay here. His mom says he's going to be fine. So that's big right there. Mama knows, and she's out there telling everybody. But Marcus Mariota came right in and still played effectively for them anyway. So I think whether if you have Mariota in there running the offense too, it's Cliff Kingsbury's offense here. I think it fits well for Mariota right here as well. I think they're the better team there. So facing against Chicago, which lately, again, when you look at them and their record, yes, their record is what it is, but the teams that they have faced haven't been very good. So they've been able to kind of knock out some of the kinks that Caleb Williams has had, and he's made some good throws. He had a good fade route in the last game in London and stuff, but I don't think this team is anything to write home about still. The defense is pretty good, and the offense, I think, could still do a little more. That being said, I think I still like the Washington Commanders here at home to beat the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, Chicago Bears, one of the best defenses that they have. Caleb Williams, the last couple of weeks, has played really good football. But again, Bears fans got to temper expectations because you played the softest part of your schedule early on. Now you're going to, as you go into this latter part of the season, now you're going to face some real competition. And you might be woken up by the fact that maybe our offense isn't that good. And it starts this week. You know, I got a feeling that Caleb Williams is going to kind of like come back down to earth in this matchup, you know, having to go against the Washington Commanders and the fact that this offense, they're going to have to try to outscore this team to win because this offense has been running on all cylinders to the point where they're just almost every drive is a score, whether it be a field goal or a touchdown. They're one of the hottest offenses right now, and now Chicago has to deal with it. Can the Bears defense limit this offense, slow it down, maybe even stop it to give the Bears enough opportunity to maybe put a score on the board, maybe take the lead and try to hold on to it that way? But like you said, Jim, whether it be Jaden Daniels cleared and ready to go or Marcus Mariota, this offense does not miss a beat. I like the Commanders in this one. They're home. It is going to be a tough matchup, especially facing the Bears defense. However, I think the Commanders are going to do enough to get the win.
Yep, absolutely. Next, we've got the Green Bay Packers and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville win at home in London. Once again here, their record in that stadium is unbelievable here. Save Doug Peterson's job one more week, at least right now, even though Shad Khan says, hey, I'm not looking at it, firing anybody right now. Okay, we've heard that before, and then surprise, somebody's on the chopping block the next week. So don't ever believe what the owners are telling you here. They're not going to let you know. So Jacksonville, yes, they come out with a win. They get back to the States here, but now they've got to face the buzzsaw that is the Green Bay Packers. Packers had a tough bout there with another heavyweight, the Houston Texans here. Barely edged out that win here, but Jordan Love looking better. He was a little slow start in the beginning of the season. Got injured for a little bit, but now he's back and he's hitting stride again. He's back into it. The team looks very powerful. I like the Green Bay Packers in this one to take care of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
How could you not like the Packers right now? They're one of the hotter teams right now, and they're playing amazing defense. They're one of the better defenses. The offense is really coming together. Very young team, and they are already on their way to be pushing for the playoffs and maybe possibly further. Jordan Love coming into his own, especially after that injury. This team is looking really good. And Jaguars, they are the direct opposite of the Packers. They are looking really bad. Possibly going to be their head coach getting fired. That is what we're expecting anyway, because this team is just not playing up to par. Trevor Lawrence giving him all that kind of money that they did to lock him up. But where is the results? we don't see it. We're not getting wins. We're not even chasing the division anymore. We're pretty much done. So rocky season for the Jaguars. It's going to continue this week. Packers win.
Yep, and I really like the whiteout jerseys and the helmets that they have too. I think the Packers helmets looked really amazing in white too. It's good to see.
Yeah,
I think more teams
definitely
should do
nice,
some of that.
and definitely nice jerseys there.
Yep.
Actually, to be honest with you, they are probably my favorite alternate jersey
Mm-hmm.
in the NFL right now currently.
Yep.
Until I see something different, like I love that look. That was nice.
Yep, definitely. All right,
whiteout.
next. Yes, we got the Indianapolis Colts at the Houston Texans. Texans again barely losing that game, like we said. They're a heavyweight, type of team here. One of the ones that expect to be there in the playoff time. The Indianapolis Colts aren't, even though they have a winning record at this point in time. Still a lot of different questions here, especially at the quarterback position. Richardson back in at it, but very up and down. You're not sure what you're getting every week. Again, doesn't take care of the football at all, and that will weigh into this game here to where you're facing a team that's sure as hell will take that ball right away from you, and they'll take it. You know what I mean? And CJ Stroud licking his chops after that loss there. He was upset about it, so he's ready to put punishment here back on another team instead here, and that is the Indianapolis Colts. I'm going to go with the Houston Texans on this one at home.
Yeah, Anthony Richardson. I mean, you can look it up. The dude is absolutely terrible as a quarterback. He doesn't execute the offense very well. And you know who does? The backup, Joe Flacco. Every time Joe Flacco has been given the opportunity to start, this team flourishes. This team scores points. When Richardson is in there, they struggle to score points. Look at the game last week against the Dolphins. I mean, 16-10. Are you kidding me? That's not going to win games a lot of times. You just happen to play a quarterback less Miami Dolphins team, which gave you the leg up. So they were lucky to win that game. And you look at going into this matchup, Richardson's still the quarterback, which baffles the hell out of me. When Joe Flacco was getting you wins and putting points on the board, you still vow to Richardson to be your starter. This is crazy. I've never seen this done by a head coach before, but does he not like winning? Does he want to get fired? Because he's on the brink of possibly getting fired if it continues to be like this. This is the guy that they handpicked and is not getting any better. Still pretty much the same as last year. And yes, you can say, well, his development has been stunted because he was injured last year, missed most of the season. Okay, fine. But I'm not seeing any encouragement week to week from him. So when you have weapons like Josh Downs and you have Alec Pierce and you have Michael Pittman when he's healthy, and you have all these guys at your disposal, but some reason we just can't score points unless Richardson is running for a score or he's running and just happens to flick it to someone that happens to be open, just these gimmicky type plays. So again, I definitely foresee this Colts offense struggle yet again with him as the leader. And after kind of just ranting about Richardson, I will say this about Texans. They're one of the better teams. This is one of those games where they should win and they should take care of business here. Getting another W for the Texans with Joe Mixon back. This shouldn't even, honestly, I don't think this is going to be close. Right. Even though DeForest Buckner is returning for the Colts. Yep. And what's interesting about this week is that the Texans anyway, they signed newly free agent Devin White. The Eagles cut him, and I'm wondering if he's going to get some playing time this week. So the Texans, give me them all day in this matchup.
Yep. All right, next up, we've got the New Orleans Saints and the Los Angeles Chargers here. Saints, again, not looking very good. Another team to where they're depleted now. If anything, out of all teams, like we've said about it, I think their injury list is longer than the active roster at this point. And Derek Carr has returned to like a limited practice, so who knows? Maybe
he started throwing.
We'll see how fast they can probably get him back.
No, he definitely won't be back this week.
I know he won't be back this week, but I mean that's something for them to look forward to. At least in the meantime, right now, they don't look very good.
So Derek Carr will be back most likely next week. It won't be this week. He started throwing, and it's trying to loosen up the muscles and everything. But look for his returning week will be next week, week 9.
Right. And the Chargers, again, losing a close one last week to the Arizona Cardinals. I think they're just, again, overall healthier at this point, a better team than the Saints. Even Kamara didn't practice this past week too. So I think just the upper hand at this point has got to go to the Los Angeles Chargers. So I'm going to go with them.
Well, the Saints are actually getting healthier this week. It looks like everybody's practiced in a limited fashion, at least, which bodes well for them leading up to this matchup. It looks like they're going to be healthier than they have been in a long time. So that's definitely promising. However, even saying that, Spencer Rattler is a rookie quarterback. Spencer Rattler is not Derek Carr or any means close to him, and is definitely not the right guy for the job, at least not right now. He definitely needs to further develop. He was rushed into this opportunity. For the Chargers, on the other hand, they're a team that's going to be looking to pound the rock. They're going to be looking to run the football. Now, do I think the Saints, if the Saints can't stop the run, that's going to be the critical part. That's the deciding factor in the game. And I know they're banged up, at least in the secondary and in the linebacking role and all that. But it seems like this week that they're going to get back almost everybody that they've been missing. So at least that helps them out a little bit. But I'm going to go with the Chargers in this one because they have a better quarterback already in case they need to throw the football. And again, last week the Chargers played the Cardinals. That defense played such a great game against the Chargers. But still, even though they played great football, the Chargers, when they dialed it up and made Herbert throw like quite often, he was able to execute with a lot of these receivers. However, a lot of the receivers dropped the freaking football, so they missed some opportunities there. I don't think they do that again this week. The Chargers, give me the Chargers at home, or at least we'll make believe it's home to give them the W.
It's funny when you mentioned Spencer Rattler, it reminded me of a meme that I saw that somebody said something like Spencer Rattler looks like the guy that they hired to put in the movie to play Patrick Mahomes in a movie about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift's love story, which I think that kind of does. He does look like a faux Patrick Mahomes or something like that. I thought that was a pretty funny meme. All right, so next let's move on to the Buffalo Bills and the Seattle Seahawks. The game that Tom Liner is going to be at. He's going to be part of the 12-man. He could be on the 12-man himself there with how much he loves and bleeds that green and blue there on silver. I really like their silver, the old 80s jerseys too, when they rock those ones. Those ones are so much better. They just pop. I mean, the weird fluorescent green, and even with the off whatever color green you call that, it's off-putting to me. I really like that silver, and that blue really stands right out. But Tom, you got to try and get on TV, brother. Come on, man. But take that shirt off, paint yourself up.
Tom,
show a sign for us, buddy.
Tom, we need you. We need you to make a sign and say, "I'm a know-it-all."
Yes.
Football on the
absolutely.
Know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, NFL news and updates. So yeah, he'll be there. Seattle comes back, plays a hard game last week. They do have the crowd behind them here, but Buffalo again, now they've got Amari Cooper here. That's the missing link, I think, for them. Buffalo, I think overall still a better team. Geno Smith this year has kind of been off and on. I'm not sure what I'm going to get out of him this week. So I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills on this one.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like it's a great matchup. Buffalo Bills, acquiring Mari Cooper has already opened up the offense, and they're not even comfortable with each other yet. So that's going to be dangerous. And by adding a Cooper to open up this offense, they're going to be able to put more points on the board, which in turn is going to alleviate the pressure on the defense. And they're going to be able to lick their chops, pin their ears back, and go after offenses. And Seattle Seahawks, tough customer to play against. The one thing that I'll say is I do like a couple of moves that they made. Ernest Jones obtaining him at linebacker. They're also going to get a little bit healthier, especially at right tackle. Abraham Lucas is due to come back this week. So Kenneth Walker III, definitely happy about that. Going to tote the rock for them. I feel like this is going to be a very close game. It could go either way, but I'm going to shift towards the home team on this one. I'm going to go with the Bills and Josh Allen having Cooper there.
All right, yeah, Seattle's gonna be the home team, but I get what you're saying. All right, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Cincinnati Bengals here. Eagles, it really took it to the Giants here, ran all over them. I don't think this is going to be a close game here against Cincinnati because Cincinnati's defense has struggled at times. But I think they can do enough to stay in this game, and their offense, the way they've been playing, though, is they can score at any point here. So I see this team. This game could potentially turn into a shootout with the weapons that that Jalen Hurts does have, and that the weapons that Joe Burrow has. But overall, Joe Burrow knows how to dial it in and can get the better reads. Right now, Jalen Hurts, again, not looking like the Jalen Hurts of old. Remember him in his first couple seasons, really, I supported him a lot. He seemed like he was making all the right decisions, people getting dogging him and things like that. And then it seems like almost, I don't know if it's out of his own doing or something like that. He's just trying to change his style. I don't know, stay back in the pocket and throw the deep ball a lot. And it's not really working out for him and missing some guys, missing the read underneath, running wide open underneath. So I think Saquon's still going to be able to run effectively in this one, but I'm going to go with the home team on this one. I believe in Cincinnati to bounce back here and make a playoff run. And it starts here with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, and that's the thing is we talked about it last night about how this offense has been struggling. And honestly, Jalen Hurts loves to look at AJ Brown. He loves to throw the deep ball down to AJ Brown. He's forcing that to happen. And regardless of who's underneath, whether it be Devonta Smith or the tight end and Goddard, he just keeps trying to force the ball deep. That's what's kind of really disorienting this offense. And even though they have Saquon Barkley, you still need Jalen Hurts to play at top level that we have seen him play before. And he needs to get back to that before we even get close to the playoffs, if they are still in the playoff hunt, because there's no guarantees. But he needs to get back to that. He needs to get back to distributing the football to everybody and not just focusing on one player or the other. So for the offense, hopefully they can kind of change those things around. Defensively, still has not played up to par. They've played decent at times, but still not playing as good as we saw them a few years ago. So that's got to be a little concerning. This Bengals matchup, now, this could go either way. Cincinnati Bengals have been playing great football offensively. Now, could it get to the point where the Bengals put so much points on the board that the Eagles are trying to play catch up and they run out of time before they can even do so? So that's something to watch out for. The Bengals being at home, this is going to be a matchup where I have to go towards the Eagles in this one because this is a game that I just believe the Eagles should win. It's just one of those things but I wouldn't be surprised if the Bengals do end up, pulling off a win here, but I'm going to go with the Eagles in this one.
Yeah, I think it could go either way too as well. You saw how the Bengals almost lost to the Giants here in a close one here, so it was tough. But so if they do that against the Giants, you can't lay an egg like that against the Eagles, or else they'll make you pay. The Carolina Panthers next, and the Denver Broncos. Panthers. We're hearing the news now with Andy Dalton. We broke it out last night here about the accident, and now we're hearing that he has a thumb injury, not expected to play. They're going to be starting Bryce Young instead. So it could be an opportunity for Bryce Young to state his claim back to the team and say, hey, I can start, maybe he does a little better, or he'll be playing for another team, because we have also heard rumors about him in a potential trade as well. So we'll follow that game closely. But overall, when you look at the two teams, I think Adam Thielen also didn't practice. I know he was limited at least, so not having him is an issue too, I think.
No, Adam Thielen is just coming back. His 21-day window just opened up, so he possibly could be active, but we'll have to wait and see because it is a hamstring injury.
Yep. And Denver, again, that defense is really good. They've been able to ride on that defense. Offense has been a little better, but again, Bo Nix missing some guys. wide open here. Was missing some of those reads, but his ability to make plays with his legs has been the deciding factor. And I think that's enough in this game, especially to get them the win.
Carolina not having Andy Dalton definitely hurts this offense for the Panthers. Bryce Young getting that extra opportunity to maybe even show a little bit of something to maybe not just the Panthers, but another team that might be interested in him. The Broncos, though, they have one of the best, if not the best defense this season. They are absolutely amazing, flying all over the football field, and they get Patrick Surtain back. So he practiced in full. He cleared his concussion protocol. He's going to return, and this defense is just going to put a ton of pressure on Bryce Young and this Panthers offense. Give me the Broncos in this one, bringing Sean Payton up to 5-3, something that we didn't anticipate in saying about these Broncos.
Right. Yeah, I know exactly. But again, for me, it's almost like the Chicago Bears record to me at this point. When you look at Denver, but Denver, both teams have very good defenses, but the offenses have done enough to pull out their victories to make them a winning franchise right now or winning team. But they're like pretenders to me to an extent. What do you think about that?
No, I think the Denver Broncos offense just continues to get better every week. Bo Nix is a rookie. Yes, he's going to make mistakes from time to time, but he's doing enough to kind of keep this offense running and just executing. So I definitely think that the Denver Broncos, as they progress throughout the season, this team is just going to get better. The defense is already at the level that they need it to be, but the offense has to play catch up. And so far, they've managed to. They're above 500 team. So they've managed to do what they need to do. And honestly, the Broncos, surprisingly, is going to be one of these teams, that a dark horse, if you will.
All right, we've got Paul Matty in the house.
What's going on, Paul?
All right, it's been a minute.
#KnowItAll.
Wow.
All right, there he is. Yeah.
Holy.
It's been a minute. Greetings from Playa Linda Beach, Florida. Thank you so much for joining with us.
What's going on, Paul?
Yeah, Paul, buddy, how have you been, man? Let us
What's
know,
up, bro?
Geez, man, it's been a while.
It's been a while for sure.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So next up, we've got the Kansas City Chiefs and the Vegas Raiders. We talked about this one last night too a little bit, and again, now that the trade has happened for DeAndre Hopkins, I think this helps solidify the fact that I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be able to win this game. DeAndre Hopkins again. We're not expecting a whole lot out of them. They're gonna play it the same way we saw with the Jets, and then Amari Cooper. They're gonna get him involved a little bit here, and with Patrick Mahomes, it's just gonna make it easy too. On top of it, so I think he'll fit in nicely. And again, your team struggling with the quarterback. Aiden O'Connell is knocked out of the game here. He won't be back. So they go and bring in Desmond Ridder, like you talked about here. So we'll see. You said that they even expected that. Who knows? They might attempt to make him the starter over Gardner Minshew, but we'll find out. And that's another interesting thing for your team in the Raiders, and how your owner kind of backed Antonio Pierce here, in the back end of that season, being the interim head coach. And now some of the questionable calls throughout this season, and the way he's kind of describing things in the press conference after games and stuff like that. It's a little different kind of demeanor to this team a little bit. And now Devontae Adams gone. I'm wondering if his tenure there will be a little short-lived, especially even how much influence will Tom Brady have. Now he's a partial owner. I know they've already opened the door and said, hey, Tom's going to be involved in this and this. We wanted to get his feedback and stuff like that. And we'll see what happens with that. But what do you think about that?
Why wouldn't you take advice from a guy who's won, multi-championships? You know what I mean? The guy's got 6. It's like, why wouldn't you take it, some advice from a guy who's played the game, who's done it at a high level, and honestly knows what it takes to win? So now he's in a different type of role as a, minority owner, and he's become really close friends with the owner, the majority owner, Mark Davis. So Mark Davis does enjoy their conversations. He definitely, relies on Tom Brady's, advice. And going forward, I don't know how much of a say Tom Brady's going to have, but I definitely think he's going to play a significant part in adding players and maybe, potentially the next quarterback that they're going to be able to pursue and just be able to give his advice as a former player and a guy who knows the game very well, what to look for. That's all I could see in terms of that. As far as Antonio Pierce goes, he hasn't been the best at decision making, in game, and it's definitely shown. Definitely, like you said, Jim, different demeanor and very questionable in his press conferences. Always seems like doesn't have an answer for any of the tough questions, but is really good at generalizing things. So Antonio Pierce, I just don't know what we're going to get from him. We've seen bad decisions in the game. We've seen bad decisions from even the GM position, like starting Gardner Minshew in the beginning of the season when it probably should have been Aiden O'Connell. I know the players wanted Aiden O'Connell, but Minshew, here he is. He struggled up to this point. Now they've turned to basically signing Desmond Ridder off of a practice squad from the Cardinals, bringing him over, and definitely has a potential to start. It might be laughable, but I think we've seen enough from Gardner Minshew. The guy has been constantly struggling, and at least Ridder has a stronger arm, because that's basically a criticism of Minshew, is that he can't throw deep. He doesn't trust it. So who knows? Maybe they get Ridder up to speed at least a little bit, give him like a small package to go out there with and see what he can do for the Raiders. Who knows, right? Like you might as well.
Like might as well.
The
You already
season
know
right
what
now
Minshew is.
is definitely over. Like, let's just say what it is. Aiden O'Connell, him shutting down, Minshew struggling. They don't really have a quarterback. Guys are still banged up. Jacoby Myers, is he going to play or not? So this team, and even defensively, they're a little banged up. So this team is on the brink of disaster. I don't think they can turn it around, because clearly, if they're not pulling off a trade to get another wide receiver or a quarterback from someone like Joe Flacco is a backup for the Colts, why wouldn't you try to go get Joe Flacco right now? If you don't want to give up on the season. But this tells me that you've had it. So the Raiders got a long way to go for this team going forward. They're definitely looking towards the next season. The Chiefs, they're licking their chops in this one, because I think that the Chiefs want to embarrass the Raiders after what they did to them last season, where they were the first team, like, pretty much to beat them before they made their playoff run. And do it very successfully.
Well, I think especially in the offseason, they had the Kermit doll. Remember that?
Yeah, but that wasn't even anything to do with the Raiders. That was a fan that brought that to the
I know,
thing.
I know, but
that's
still,
all it was. So
I know
that was brought up bigger than what it should have been. But it is what it is. But hey, at least the likeness was there.
Yeah,
Patrick Mahomes looks just like that, and talks just like that. So
that's true. Christian's in here, and he was talking about the D-Hop. He ended up 15 minutes after he got the notification, he went and he snagged him for fantasy. It looks like. So
I can't believe that he was even available in your league, dude. I can't.
A lot of people probably gave up on it, because the way the Titans were,
I honestly been trying to trade for him like early in the season, because he wasn't doing anything, and I'm like, I want to get him, because you
get
never
him
know.
while value's low right now. Yeah. Absolutely. Paul Matty, he wants to bring up the Tua situation here too. Again, he says, can you guys believe some doctors cleared Tua to return?
Well, he hasn't been officially.
Hasn't been officially cleared.
He hasn't been cleared yet. So he is practicing limited, but we'll wait and see on the clearance. If he gets cleared, hey, he's healthy to be cleared. It's just that. It is what it is. But I'm interested to see if Tua takes any precautions going into this matchup, doubling up on the helmets, wearing a very good helmet, also with a guarding cap over top of it. I think that's something that he needs to do. Let's just see if he actually does it this week, if he is cleared.
Right. Yep. Next up here, now we've got here Monday or Sunday night's game. Then we'll get on to Mondays. But Sunday.
Oh, yeah. Dallas, by the way, I got the Chiefs.
Right. I think the way when I brought you to that question about the Raiders, I think that pretty much summed it all up. It was funny. Paul Matty says, I thought he was completely done.
No.
No, again, and the team brought it up there too. They've talked with him and his family again, and ultimately it's his decision. So I think
Well, that
we'll
was
hear some
that
more of that after all
that
this.
whole that whole meeting with the family and everything that happened the last time he had that major concussion.
Mhm, mhm,
That was like when it was in question of his career.
mhm.
But this time around, he wants to play football.
Yep,
So
yep.
I mean, how are you going to tell the dude by
It,
himself that he
yeah,
just can't play
it's
unless
tough.
the NFL or a medical professional says this is too dangerous to continue?
Right.
We got to go by what they say.
Right. Yeah. And it's not exactly like a boxing match or MMA to where you've got the referee right there that seriously could just be like, no, 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 stop the fight. You're done. Get out of here to protect himself from himself, you're the safety and things like that.
Well,
Um,
that's where the
you know,
evaluation comes into play.
yeah, no,
Like
I hear
that's
you
why,
there.
that's what's going to
Hmm.
happen is that if let's just say he sustains a minor one, right?
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
maybe not this year, maybe it's next year, maybe it is at the end of this year. And the medical professional checks in by like, hey, listen, you've had way too many right now, and you've had some pretty severe ones. You cannot no longer play. Like I'm
Yep.
telling you right now that you should. I'm suggesting strongly that you should not take another snap. Until that
Hmm.
happens, I don't think you can do anything about it.
Hmm. Yep, and Palme says he thinks he'll end up. I think he's meant to say a vegetable there. Unfortunately, I hope he doesn't. I mean, that would be very unfortunate. I hope he doesn't. Um, Dallas and San Francisco. This one again, when the NFL wanted this one on Sunday Night Football, I thought they were licking their chops here. Because San Francisco embarrassed Dallas last year in the playoffs. You had the George Kittle thing even too. Um,
Mhm.
saying, F Dallas and things like that, it was great. Um, and now here's the matchup, but San Francisco's banged up a little bit here. Dallas on a losing streak. They don't have, Micah Parsons right now as of yet. Hopefully for them, he can come back soon, maybe this week or so. I wasn't sure. I didn't check the thing. I know they were trying to bring him back though, right, Joe? Is he going to be able to play in this game?
Who's that?
Micah Parsons?
Parsons, he didn't practice
He
today.
didn't
Deron
practice.
Bland
Okay.
didn't practice today.
Okay.
We
Yep.
mentioned that earlier in the show
Yep.
that those guys will be game time decisions. So we
Decisions.
will not
Yep.
know
Until the game
until
time. Yep.
kickoff,
Because that'll
basically.
be a deciding factor, I think, for me. If Dallas is able to get, Micah Parsons back, it's just a big and Bland, even for that matter. That's a whole different aspect for them because right now, the way the 49ers have been playing here and Brock Purdy, he needs to clean up his little mental errors that he's having right now. And like you said before, when we were talking about the 49ers, potential trades, things like that,
Mhm.
they have been able to run the ball effectively still. I think Jordan Mason was a great pickup here as a late round pick, and has done. No, he was undrafted, right? He was
Undrafted.
undrafted, right?
Yeah.
Undrafted.
Georgia Tech.
Great pickup for them. And been able to run effectively here. So I think that was a solid grab for them to keep it rolling here. But 49ers, they have too much talent not to try and turn this ship around. We talked about Dallas and their lack of running, 32nd, I think, in the league right now. And in the red zone, not efficient on defense, 31st in the red zone on defense and 31st on offenses too. So when they get down there, they cannot come away with points, and that's major here for them. I think that's going to be part of the deciding factor because when the 49ers typically, when they do get down in the red zone, that's when they're pretty red hot. So I'm going to go with the 49ers here to take the victory on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, this is the problem for the Cowboys. Like they haven't been able to run the football. They can't do that. They're a one-dimensional offense at this point. And because of that, they're going to continue to struggle. Defensively, you mentioned Micah Parsons possibly returning, and we do know that's a game time decision. And who knows? Maybe Friday they surprise everybody and they're healthy.
Mhm.
But even if that's the case, I would still take the Niners in this one. They are too good of a team, even though their minor struggles recently. Like I just think that they're just going to be better equipped to beat the Dallas Cowboys in this matchup. This is a small time rivalry between the Cowboys and Niners. So this is definitely going to be a physical game. And I just think that the Niners will end up getting the better of the Cowboys, giving them yet another loss.
There you go. I would love to see it. I would love to see it. All right, here we're still on some of the Tua here. Let's touch on some comments. We appreciate you guys dropping the comments again. Let's make this another 100 comment show here. We've been hitting that continuously here, so we appreciate it. Christian says, "What happens if he dies on the field, though? You know, because it could
He
happen.
dies on the
Signs
field.
are all there.
That's what
Uh,
happens.
yeah, I know, and it is something sad and things like that, and some things like that have happened. There have been bad
But here's
things,
the
but
thing: is Tua has been told that the
right.
dangers of it. You know that his family's been told the dangers of it. You know the team has been told the dangers of it. So everybody knows. It's not a secret. But if he somehow does pass away on the field, it's going to be a very sad moment. It's going to be, very upsetting. But at the same time, it's like they've been told over and over and over, like, we suggest this, we suggest that, until a medical professional steps in and just basically says, dude, I strongly suggest you cannot play another snap.
Right, yeah.
Until that happens, listen, this is what it is. Like, we can't criticize the man. We can't criticize, what he wants to do with his own life. Like, if he's well aware, he's definitely well aware of the situation.
He's made aware of the situation. Yes, and that's the thing.
Not even it's not it's not even up for debate. It is what it is.
All right, next Dave. Christian says Dallas is the most overrated team in the nation. I think to an extent too. And I think a lot of it is put on by the owner and the fans alike altogether. That I think we've talked about this a few different times, where the entity of the Dallas Cowboys, America's team, is larger than life, and you need to just chill your expectations sometimes. You do have a good team a lot. You do with Mike McCarthy. He has had multiple 12-win seasons for you. But it ain't Super Bowl or bust every single year. You need to just, stipend the expectations and things like that. And just go out and play, take that stress off of you too. Because this is what you deal with every single year. We're expected to win. We're expected to go here, go Dallas. Wow, here we them boys. Like, dude, chill. It's like that guy who, again, you see it even the memes again all over. He's like, this guy kept talking all this, blah, 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 kept shoving the guy, and then bam, gets popped and gets laid right out,
Right.
picked on the little guy. And you're like, dude, you thought all this, but then you're still nothing. This is the Cowboys, on the nail right here.
Well, I mean, honestly, with this, I don't think they're the most overrated team. I think they're one of the teams that have fallen under the cannon fodder that is injuries and the fact that they don't have the same personnel that they did last year. They don't have a running back by the name of Tony Pollard. They don't have, a star-studded offensive line anymore. Those veterans have moved on. They're trying to rebuild that O-line on the fly. Much like the Giants, they've kind of they overlooked that position for quite a few years. So, and then the fact that they lost a running back, that's changed this whole complexity of the Cowboys and what they're able to do this year. So I don't think they were overhyped. I just think that things have changed to the point where it's made them a losing team. And that's it's as simple as that. Like, they're just not as good as they used to be.
Yep. Paul wants to know if we want to hit this blunt.
You pass it.
Pass it. Bring it on, bro. Yep. Bring it on. Enter the studio.
Right.
All right. All right. And, Christian says the 49ers are just decimated with injuries. They got some injuries, but again, Joe and I brought up too. You got Ricky Parasol finally back here after the shooting incident. He was able to get a reception last week, and he'll just get better too. So that's something to work on. I know Jennings, I think, had a hip injury. He was limited in practice.
Yeah, but he's going to be good.
But he should be able to be good to go. So that'll help for them. And he said also, I heard Debo has pneumonia. Is he going to be able to be playing?
He's got a chance.
There's a chance.
He's got a chance.
Right?
The coach said he didn't practice today, but even though he has pneumonia, he's handling it better than most people. He said that he definitely does have a chance to play this weekend. But again, it's one of those things where it's like it's a very fluid situation. So just kind of like if you're asking for fantasy advice here in this question, I would say make sure you watch the injury report on Friday, because that's usually determining whether he's going to be good to go or maybe even a game time decision.
Yep. Christian says Super Bowl or bust. They ain't even really win in the playoffs last 20, 25 years. They always a first round exit. I know. And I'm saying, I'm not even saying they're playoff or bust. This is the way their fans react. You see it every single season. And I especially see it because I'm a Giants fan and I got to hear it from them every single time. Like legit, after the last time the Cowboys beat the Giants, I walked into work and there was stupid posters all over of stars all over around my work area, just mocking me. I get this all the time, but now, if they lose again now to the 49ers here, I mean, I'm just pushing back, you know what I'm saying? Because what are you guys right now? You don't look that much better,
Unless,
and the Giants fans, we don't say, hey, this is our year. We got Malik Neighbors now. This is our year. You know what I mean? Come on, man. Let's get real. He thinks too. He's asking too if you think Belichick will go to Dallas. We'll answer that in just a second. Quick, Joe. I just want to bring up Paul Matty because he said he's got to run. He says my 28-year-old tattooed hot bippy just arrived to help me with this backyard blunt or backwood blunt. Great seeing you guys. Great job with the show as usual.
Nice.
I don't know what a bippy is. Do you know what a bippy is? Am I that old now? I don't even know. But Paul's older than I am.
Use your imagination.
I don't know. I can figure it out, I guess. I'll have to look up the the one dictionary, the Urban Dictionary, and see what a bippy is. I figured out this year what a Getty is, though. Do you know what a Getty is, Joe?
I never heard of it.
A Getty. It's actually short for a get together. So like you and I, if we had some friends over, we'd have a Getty.
I'm not going to ever say that.
No, neither would I. But here you go. Belichick. Do you think he'll be the next coach here at Dallas? What do you think about that?
No, real point blank and simple. I don't think so because Bill Belichick wants power. He wants to be able to run the team basically. So that would mean that Steven, the GM now for the Cowboys, who's taking over his son, Jerry Jones' son, that puts him out of a job. So Belichick would want power as a GM, as a decision maker. He would want power as the head coach. I think that's too much to give him. We've already seen how it doesn't work out well. Like down the stretch for the Patriots, things just weren't working out from the front office standpoint, from the coaching standpoint. Still a great coach, great football coach, knows the game inside and out. That's where he should kind of just stay. He should just be a head coach somewhere. But we all do know he loves his power. That's probably the reason why he didn't get the job in Atlanta. And that's probably why he didn't get any other offers, because he just wants too much power. So I don't think Jerry Jones, even his son, would want to give that up. So I don't think he'll end up there.
Right. Again, I think if he does coach again, there's one final destination, and it is the New York Football Giants. And it's not just because that's my team. It's the fact that that's where it was a defensive coordinator there for Bill Parcells, things like that. He has ties. He speaks highly of the franchise always. Love for LT and all that. And, I think if that spot happens to open up where Brian Daboll is gone, I bet you he does want to go and have a conversation with the Maras there. I see that's probably one destination where I think even the Maras would be like, yeah, go ahead.
We already got confirmation from Mr. Mara there, the owner of the Giants, that he's not making any changes. So it
not right now.
Comfortable with keeping the head coach, comfortable with keeping the GM. So Belichick won't be going to the Giants because he's definitely getting a job after this year. Because if he doesn't, then no team is going to be hiring him.
No, not at this point. That's what I'm saying. I mean, it's almost like the way the former coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I can't believe I can't remember his name even right now. But he was like a name about yes. he had brought up a few different times that he was holding out for certain teams and things like that, but then the openings never came, and then now he's still just going to be that CBS analyst and kind of sticking around. I see maybe Belichick as some of the same kind of thing, and I think he's even having fun right now doing you know inside the NFL and things like that.
He has his own
and then some
podcast,
other
Jim.
twos in his pod. Yeah, he does. He does a lot. He's very busy right now, so I think he's enjoying that even right now too. Christian again chiming in. He's laughing about every year he does. He must hear the Cowboys fans here too, unless he's not a Cowboys fan, is he, Joe?
No, he's a Giants fan.
He's a Giants fan. I thought so. Yeah, so he must hear it too every year. He hears it from the Cowboys fans too. Yeah, it's pathetic. You know what I mean? Why set could be a Giants fan, 1 year, set your expectations really low, right? So then your little wins are that much better, right? They're very, very exceptional. And Christian says, he goes, "Oh my God, don't get me excited like that." Bill to the Giants. I think it's not just me though, too. I've heard it from other former Patriots players, things like Julian Edelman. He was asked the same question, and he says he thinks he would go to the New York Giants again if that seat happens to open up.
And that's why they're players and not decision makers.
No, I hear you, but somebody close to the decision, to the situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense at this point unless the Giants fire Brian Daboll and Joel Shane, because he's going to want that power. Like, unless that happens, I don't foresee him going to the Giants at all.
All right, next up here now, talk about the Giants so much here. Here they are, Monday Night Football against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers defense looks really good. And let me tell you, how about Beanie Bishop in that game last week too? 2 interceptions, many pass defense too, just all over the ball, playing really well. And then Russell Wilson came back, looks pretty good. At first it was a little rusty, but then he started to get it dialed in here. George Pickens had a day again. Here we go. Thank God here. George Pickens is back alive here, getting some receptions. I'm sure fantasy owners were about to get rid of him. Some of them were probably shaking, a little bit here and sweating. But now, thank God, Russell Wilson is coming to the picture. And they're going to face off against a team here to where they're definitely beatable. Giants, the defensive side, they have been able to get pressure. They have been leading the lead in sacks. But now that offensive line again struggling. You don't have Andrew Thomas, Daniel Jones getting sacked time after time again. We're back to the same old song and dance. We've seen this story before. One positive thing is that we can get Malik Neighbors back this week, so that would bode well for the New York Giants and Daniel Jones, because we saw what was going on when he wasn't there. Darius Slayton, if he's your number one option, I mean, come on. I mean, that's a joke. The guy, he's a third stringer at best, I think, and many other even different teams. Only on the Giants he could be considered your number 2 or your number 1 when your backup goes down. And Jalen Hyatt again, I'm done on him too. I just don't think he's the guy. He might have some speed, but he's dropped wide open passes, things like that, not getting open. I don't know if again it's certain routes that they're giving him or whatnot, but he's been a non-factor completely in this season so far. So they've got a tough bout against them here in the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh better all offense and defense. I'm going with the Steelers on this one.
Christian just said didn't have time to get him the ball, and when he didn't even look his way. So I mean, it's basically opportunity. It's reps. It's all of that. So like you can't judge Jalen Hyatt because he doesn't even get to be on the field enough. And that's the thing, is like he was a excellent player in Tennessee in college football, was that speed demon in college, and a guy who was never utilized other than a deep threat. So I think that's kind of like some untapped potential that they just haven't really opened up for the Giants. And you can't do it now because it's middle of the season. You just can't put them out there, but like, hey, we want you to run a 10-yard, cross route, and just kind of change things up all of a sudden. You got to implement that in training camp. You got to get him involved in training camp to prepare him for the season. So Jalen Hyatt, I still think to this day, he has a lot of potential. I just wish he had the opportunity, but unfortunately, the Giants seem to be okay with riding with homeboy there.
Oh, so, Darius Slayton.
Yeah, I don't even want to say his name. That's how bad I think he is. So that's the thing. So like for the Giants, like it's great that they're going to get Neighbors back. That's going to help, but not having that left tackle, man, and
Andrew
for
Thomas.
either tackle,
Yeah.
it's not just the
Mhm.
left tackle, and they don't have an answer yet. It seems like
Mhm.
they worked out DJ Humphreys, of a little bit older of a free agent veteran,
Mhm.
but haven't heard anything. Haven't heard about them signing one yet, or did they get an agreement done? So it's getting closer. You're going to have to do something, because if you don't sign anybody, then this team is going to continue to struggle, because now they got to deal with the Steelers defense. Now they got to deal with a guy by the name of TJ Watt on one side, and then it's either going to be Nick Herbig on the other side, or I just forgot the dude's name. The other linebacker there. Anyway,
Mhm.
but they're two good pass rushers that are going to be screaming off the edge. And if you don't have at least a veteran in there to help protect Daniel Jones, it's going to be a long night. So Russell Wilson getting another start there with the Steelers. He looked pretty good in the second half of last week's game. Now that he's dusted off that rust, you got to expect, as a Steelers fan, you got to expect that he's going to kind of get back up, and just kind of continue his succession plan here with the Steelers on offense. Maybe the Steelers pull off a trade for a wide receiver. We're still going to wait and see by November 5th. But all accounts, the Steelers are on their way offensively. They've scored more points than I can even remember last week, 37. It's been a long time since they've been able to do that. And this defense is definitely going to feed off of that. I like the Giants defense, but with the offense not being able to put up enough points, I think that the Steelers are going to get this one.
All right, here we go. We've got Christian here. He said I've been to all 4 home games this season. Neighbors is open on like 90% of the plays. Literally, fans are screaming for him to just throw it to him, and he would just rather bounce a check down off the turf and punt it off. Yeah, and that's the one thing I think is really good about being able to go to the games. When you get to see it all come out, you see the whole play over everything, and depending on where your seat happens to be, but you see it play out, and you can see where guys are open, and you're looking at him and like, dude, there's a dude right there, and he totally didn't hit
It's
him on that. Like,
easy.
what are you doing? But
It's very easy to see who's open and who's not when you're looking at a
when
bird's
you're
eye
looking
view.
bird's eye view.
As a quarterback, when you have the rush in your
Mhm.
face, and even if you're not looking that direction, that's probably why he didn't throw
Yep.
it.
Yep.
So it's tough as a fan when you're
Mhm.
watching, and you see guys open. You're like, why didn't you just throw it there? Well,
Yep.
maybe at the time he was feeling pressure. He started to run out, which took away from that visual, that to see the receiver open on the left side. Instead, now he's running to the right, and now he either has to throw to the right or throw it away. So a lot of variables are involved with those plays. So, like, yeah, he might have been open. I don't know if he was looking his direction or not. I don't know if the pressure was there. So there's a lot of things to look at in that scenario.
All right, so there you go. There's our picks. We've definitely done better the last 2 weeks here, so I'm hoping it's on a string of high wins and things like that. So we've got it dialed in moving forward. Joe, nearing the end of the show here, why don't you tell everybody where they can find more episodes like ours, and also join the family here on our YouTube channel. There's the QR code. I know a bunch of you guys have already scanned the code already, so we definitely appreciate that so much, and I'm glad it's working. So I'll put it up there more often. And then even if you guys didn't just scan the one there, we definitely appreciate if you did scan the Raise one too, because we haven't talked about Raise in a long time. And Raise, I'm getting my shipment coming in soon, Joe. I'm excited. I haven't had it for a while, and it's so amazing. It gives you the caffeine that you need here to keep it going here without the crash and all that stuff. All natural, additives, things like that. It's completely clear. None of these no crazy dyes and all that stuff. Doesn't give you the jitters. I can go even to bed afterwards, too, right after a show. It just helps me get through there. And it's amazing stuff. Just put in that Raise Them Up code right there at checkout, and you'll save yourself all the shipping. Basically, again, my
15%.
order. Yeah. So, I mean, I saw the shipping all up there. I put the code in, boom, took another $15 off my order. So it was amazing there. So hit the QR code, get yourself some good stuff. And they have other stuff too. If you work out, if you're a gym rat, go right there, gets your supplements too as well, because they focus on all that too as well, Joe.
Yeah, sir. Yes, sir. Listen, guys, Christian, really appreciate you. You've
Yeah,
been
hell
a
yeah, man.
OG. You've been an OG. You stuck all the way to the end. Really do appreciate you.
Hashtag
And
know it
you
all.
have, I gotta say, you've made the starting lineup. On our
Yeah,
roster.
this
You
season,
definitely-
every year we have a guy, and
Yeah.
he's been our guy this season, right?
You've made the starting lineup. You're in here. You're one of the great know-it-alls that we have on our roster. And if you want to be part of the roster, if you want to make the starting lineup, you gotta hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Help us grow this channel. Help us get bigger, get noticed from YouTube. Thumbs up. Hit the thumbs up. Also, don't forget to comment. Don't forget to share to everybody you know that loves NFL talk. We are the most interactive NFL talk show out there. We want to prove it to everybody. You can also follow us on X, which is formerly known as Twitter, at FB_no. And we will see you guys next week.
He starts to come and then he pulls out.
All right.